I already have a smile on my face. Welcome everyone to the Sports Bar here on WTF Nation Radio slash US Army WTF Moments. Okay, I'm smiling because I was looking at some of the pre live stream chat and I have something to say. But before I get into what I have to say, let me introduce myself. I am U.S. Air Force veteran King Smith. I go by the actual King Smith and co-hosting the Sunday Sports Bar here at WTF Nation with me is the honorable, the sometimes ranty coach. Coach, introduce yourself, brother.
What do you hear? What do you say? You know what? Let me go ahead and kick off the sports bar by opening up a tall boy and getting this bad boy show on the road. Oh, yeah.
Ooh, he opened up a cold brew for Sunday night. I love to hear it. Before
Oh, that was good.
before we get started, I want to acknowledge some of the earlier people that have showed up and commented here. Most of them over on Facebook. We got Alba Sailor. Salute to you as well. And to my guy Nathan Polk. Nathan Polk said that the intro was cheesy. Well, here's the deal, Nathan. I did this myself. All right. I'm not the best graphics video producer out there, but if you have video making skills, hey, I would love to compensate you for a better intro. So if you think you can do better, brother, hit up my line and I will pay you for a better intro. How about that? Oh man, hey, but you know what? When the haters show up, that tells me that I'm doing something right, coach. So
Damn right. I've had haters all my life, and I know I've been doing right several times, so I can't complain about all the haters. Hate all you want. You hate us because you ain't us.
you hate us because you ain't us, or do your own sports show. How about that one?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, and
Absolutely.
Nathan, if you do, I promise I will pop in. I absolutely will chime in if you have your own sports show. But I appreciate your comment, man.
I'll chime in too. I'll definitely chime in on this guy.
I see Pookie.
It's a lot of keyboard warriors out there that can't throw a ball, can't do anything athletic whatsoever, but want to commentate on anybody that's doing something and putting a passion into it.
Yep,
Go
yep,
right ahead. Come on.
yep, absolutely. We got Richard. Hey, I don't want to throw you under the bus, Richard, but I see you're commenting on Fake Book. I thought you were done with it, man. Hey, I don't care how you see us, but you see us because y'all, we're streaming across multiple platforms here as we usually do at WTF Nation Radio. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. If there's a like button and it can be hit, hit it. We would like the sports bar to be the most watched, most interactive, and most engaged sport here at WTF Nation Radio. But it is not the only shows that we have on WTF Nation Radio slash US Army WTF Moments. Coach, why don't you let the viewers know and we'll get the marketing stuff out the way early. Just bear with us. But let's get the marketing stuff out the way so that the people that come over here and watch us or listen to the podcast know the other happenings that occur here at WTF Nation Radio.
Absolutely. Here on WTF Nation Radio, we come to you live 6 nights a week. We start the week off over with the sports show every Sunday night at 8 o'clock and at 8 o'clock on Monday. We roll right into the Monday edition with Ice and Shipwreck as they talk about the politics, the world, and everything that's happening around the United States military. Tuesdays, we have Pop Culture Warrior with the one and only Mike Carrasquillo, best known as CQ, and his rotating group of hosts, the co-hosts that he has coming on there, the celebrities that he has on. And by the way, this Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, you definitely want to be tuning in to Pop Culture Warrior because the one, the only Joe Montana, not Joe Montana, Joe Montana. I know y'all have seen him in movies and television shows all for the past 25, 30 years. He will be one of the greatest interviews that CQ's ever done. That'll be coming this Tuesday on Pop Culture Radio. On Wednesday, it is the Smoke Pit with our great friend Radar And coming back this week, TZ Sheer, your vagina got yeeted, or excuse me, her uterus got yeeted, and now she's coming back. She had some fill-in co-hosts this past couple of weeks. Gee, I wonder who one of those co-hosts was. Wasn't that you, King?
Yes, I was the co-host last week, man. And hey, that was fun. Shout out to Radar for having me at the smoke pit. It was different, but I loved every second of it.
You guys had great conversation going on there, but it's just all 2 hours of bullshitting and talking about the stuff that we want to go ahead and talk about, just as if we were in the smoke pit back over in front of the bees. Speaking of the bees and the moldy bees and everything that deals with the United States military as well as the veteran community, we have Sergeant's time with the one, the only Mr. Ice himself. Going to be talking about everything that's happening within the world of the military veterans affairs, and it's a show for every single one of you on the U.S. Army WTF Nation Radio, WTF Moments. U.S. Space Force, we even have a Space Force WTF Moments, but this is all DoD. We don't discriminate whatsoever. We even had the United States Navy shipmate on a couple weeks ago, and it was phenomenal time to get in. And then on Fridays. Coming back this week, they're on a every other week schedule, and I see him over in the chats right now, Mr. Cos and Mr. Pookie. It will be Friday Night Freedom, wrapping up every bit of news that has happened during the week so that they can ship you off for the great day of non-scheduled activity on Saturday, the only day we are not live on WTF Nation Radio. And yeah, 8 o'clock on every single one of our shows. That's what time we start. So go ahead and tune in all of those 6 days right here on U.S. Army WTF Moments, WTF Nation Radio across Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Back to you, King.
See, that type of voice, that voice, that gravitas in how you do that. That is a skill that I don't have. I would just smile and hope that I can bumble my way through it. But that's the 6 shows that we have here. Here at the sports bar on Sundays, we like to, bring up sports news and stories and life, the type of conversations that you would have at an actual sports bar. I am not an ESPN analyst that will become apparent during these next 2 hours and some change. But anytime I go out and I'm at a sports bar, I could typically strike up a conversation with the person that's next to me. I haven't had cable in years. So literally whenever I want to catch a sports game, I will actually have to go to a sports bar. Now I'm saying that publicly because privately I know of ways that I can watch sports stuff, but we're not going to talk about that on the air. All right.
Hey, that's how I've been watching the UFC for the past 6 years.
Yep, absolutely. I'd also like to acknowledge some other people in the chat before we get into the first of our several stories that we have here today. So Richard said he's smoking a joint. Yes, sir. And drinking a Four Loco. Are you going to be able to last the entirety of this show tonight? Uh, oh no. Pookie's drinking a Four Loco. Okay, my bad. And Richard is smoking a joint. Absolutely. If you were doing both at the same time, either one of y'all, I'd be curious if you could stay up the entirety of the show. We got my lady Michelle, who did my shirt that I am wearing, and I'm going to wear it every Sunday for the sports bar. Michelle Early is in the building over on Facebook. Hey, babe. That is my public shout out to her. Let's say she said to the haters, keep on hating because your viewership just makes this better. Absolutely. Richard said he's back on Facebook because Meta wanted him back. And it's a big step closer to getting my cage on her car. Okay, happened today. All right. Shout out to you. And Pookie said Coach should be a UFC boxing announcer. Yes. Yes, you should. Hey, if the sports bar is what gets you into a UFC Vegas event or whatnot, Coach, that'd be awesome. And you would have to invite me, not your family,
I would take it.
not people that you
I would
know
do it.
closer to
Hell
me.
yeah.
You'd have to get me on there.
Hell yeah, I would absolutely, brother. That ain't a problem at all.
All right, and we
I
got
would definitely do it, man. Come on, we got to start out. We got to start out low. You know, we got to start out with the cockfighting rings and the bullfighting rings and all those other places. You know, and then we got to work our way up to Vegas. So, if anybody here knows of an illegal cockfighting ring that needs an announcer, by all means, I'm available.
absolutely. Khan said, "What a weird time to tune in. A sports show talking about uterus deletus." I heard a joke, and I've heard two comics do it, but one of the comics that I heard was Andrew Schultz, and he talked about how if somebody wanted to have an abortion with Harry Potter or something, they would use the spell fetus deletus. And the reason why that's funny is because it rhymes. Like if you do stand-up comedy and understand joke structure, just fetus deletus by itself just sounds funny. All right.
That does sound funny, man.
Yeah. And see,
Oof.
I got three more things to cover, and then we're going to get into the first story. Three more comments to highlight here. Kaz said, I wish the
Gotcha,
Dallas
brother.
Stars would wake up and play hockey. Absolutely. Pookie said, King, have you looked up armored combat sports? No, I haven't. But when we get into our first story, while Coach shares his story, I'm going to be in the background looking up armored combat sports. That sounds interesting. And then Charles Rosignoli, if I said that right, hand clap for me, said, evening, guys. Good evening to you, Charles. Thanks for tuning in. All right. First story, and we're just going to go right into it. NFL legend Jim Brown passed away at the age of 87. He was not just one of the NFL's most prolific players, he was also considered a civil rights icon. And I'm just going to read the statement that the Haslam brothers, the owners of the Cleveland Browns, put out. Jim Brown is a true icon of not just the Cleveland Browns, but the entire NFL. He was certainly the greatest player to ever put on a Browns uniform and arguably one of the greatest players in NFL history. Jim was one of the reasons the Browns have such a tremendous fan base today. So many people grew up watching him just to dominate every so many people grew up watching him just dominate every time he stepped onto the football field, but his countless accolades on the field only tell a small part of his story. Jim Brown is the Browns' all-time NFL rushing leader with 12,312 yards and 106 touchdowns across his 9-year career, which spanned from years 1957 to 1965. Interesting enough, he never missed a game in his entire career, led the league in rushing 8 times, and was voted MVP 3 times. Brown was an NFL champion with the Browns in 1964 and helped lead them to the NFL championship games 3 times in 57, 64, and 65. He was also voted to the Pro Bowl every year of his career and was a first team All Pro selection in 8 of those seasons. Some people consider Jim Brown as the greatest running back in the history of the sport at the time of his retirement and is considered one of the greatest rushers to ever play in the NFL. So I'm reading that statement, but I'll add if you ask anybody to list their top 10 running backs in the NFL ever, most people will list Jim Brown somewhere in the top 10. As of this post today, he sits 11th all time in rushing yards and 6th all time in rushing touchdowns. NFL legend Jim Brown passed away at 1987, and passed away um, the 18th of this month at the age of 87. And our coach has a story about legendary Jim Brown. So, Coach, I'm gonna put his graphic up on the screen. Why don't you tell the people
Yep.
some of your dealings or happenings with Mr. Jim Brown?
Well, listen, first I want to talk about Jim Brown overall. That Jim Brown, you know, if you ask the older people who have watched the NFL from its infancy going all the way up until the juggernaut it is today, Jim Brown is probably considered one of the top three best football players to ever stepped foot onto the field. I've heard Jerry Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Jim Brown, Tom Brady. Those four, three, four, whatever, somewhere in that order, any of those players right there would be considered the best of all time. Jim Brown being one of them. It's a shame that none of us that are listening right now can actually go back and see him in his prime, because when he came into the NFL at the age of 21, which at that time was unheard of, he was an unstoppable force. The running back position was the premier position in the NFL, and Jim Brown was the premier running back throughout the entire league. Now, that being said, Jim Brown was a tremendous athlete. Not only did he play for 9 seasons in the NFL, retired at the age of 30 just because he said, bump it, I'm done with this daggone game, and he retired after that. And by the way, Cleveland has not won a championship since he retired. Just to say that. Sorry, Cleveland fans, I do have to mention that. But if you go back to his collegiate days over at Syracuse, Jim Brown changed the entire way that that whole university was playing football. Jim Brown was in his first year, they tried to get him to play a punter, a lineman, a wide receiver, a linebacker. He was still the best athlete on those teams, regardless of playing those positions. They moved him to running back, and in the 3 years that he was the running back for Syracuse, he became the all-time leading rusher at that time. Now, also on top of that, speaking of all-time leading rushers, King, even though that 1,200 yards in the or the 12,312 yards in the 9 seasons is now ranked 11th, it wasn't until Walter Payton in 1985 that anybody eclipsed Jim Brown as the all-time leading rusher in NFL history.
Nice.
And Jim Brown retired a good 20 years later, 25 years or so. Let me see. Now, yeah, about 20 years later, that's how long his record stand as the all-time leading rusher. And now the all-time leading rusher, Mr. Emmitt Smith, had to pass Walter Payton in order to do that. But Jim Brown was the one who held that before Walter Payton. I also mentioned his college days, and I want to mention about this because Jim Brown, when he was at Syracuse University, changed the game of another sport while he was playing. King, do you know what? How many Hall of Fames do you know that Jim Brown's in, man?
Well, I would assume the College Football Hall of Fame and the NFL Football Hall of Fame at least.
Yes, College Football Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame. He is a member of. He is also a member of the Lacrosse Hall of Fame.
Wait,
did you know about this?
Wait, hold on. What? Jim
Oh,
Brown
yes.
played a lacrosse.
Yes, Jim Brown played lacrosse at Syracuse University.
Huh.
Okay, that was on top of, he also played basketball and track at Syracuse University on and off during his 4 years while he was there. But his exploits in lacrosse became so prolific, became so prolific that they had to change the way lacrosse was played. And let me explain this to you. So, a guy of the stature of Jim Brown, back in the day of lacrosse, you give the ball to the person, and that guy can go ahead and run through absolutely everybody and go right to the goalie unassisted by keeping that ball close to him in that little cradle and just tossing it in right past the goalie. So much so that he scored 43 goals in 10 games in his senior year in lacrosse. Now, the game of lacrosse had to get changed at that point, and I'm not kidding you. If you ever watch a lacrosse game, you ever notice how they have to keep the ball moving, or they do that little shake with the ball if somebody's running up the field in their stick? That was because Jim Brown used to just get the ball, cup it underneath him, run like a daggone running back, bulldozing all these little college punks that play lacrosse. And let's be quite honest, it's usually a bunch of yuppie frat boy white boys that are doing it. So Jim Brown had no problem giving them a couple forearm shivers, knocking them to the ground on the way, and then run right past the goalie into and score the goal in there. Jim Brown changed the way that lacrosse has been played forever because now you have to do that little, you have to keep that ball moving. You have to cradle the ball. You have to keep it away from the body. That was because Jim Brown was that damn good at lacrosse that he changed that game. He changed the way for many people, not just in lacrosse, but in but in football, and he also changed the way of life for a lot of African Americans back after he retired. When he became an activist and started getting into a lot of the activism for the African Americans during the 60s, and it was highlighted in a movie. If you all go back on whatever streaming device you have, I don't know what it's called, but it's called. I don't know what it's on right now, but it's called One Night in Miami. Um, he was a pivotal part in the civil rights movement. Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Malcolm X, Jim Brown. These were pivotal civil rights athletes as well as civil rights activists that played a part during that in the 60s. And Jim Brown was right there at the center of it. He backed Muhammad Ali from getting out of the draft. He backed the change of Lou Alcindor to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was there and supported Martin Luther King during his whole entire civil rights movement. Jim Brown not only did that, but then he also crossed into the mainstream of movies and starred in several movies. If you ever seen The Dirty Dozen, Jim Brown's in there, and that's a tough guy right there. That's about the, let's be quite honest, out of all these actors, that's the only guy you could actually say, yeah, that's a bad motherfucker. And know damn well that was a bad motherfucker. I just saw Pop Culture Warriors in the chat now. But that being said, Jim Brown, rest in peace. Your indelible mark on America has been felt not just within the sports world, but within society as a whole. The man was a legend in his own way. He paved the way for absolutely every person to play football, paved the way for lacrosse players to play it differently, paved the way for African Americans nowadays to get the rights that they deserve, and paved the way for athletes to make that change into careers. There wouldn't have been a Dwayne The Rock Johnson or an Alex Karras. If anybody's ever seen Blazing Saddles, you know who I'm talking about. There wouldn't have been these athletes that have turned actors if it wasn't for the first one to do that, which was Jim Brown.
Hey man, that was pretty dope. The fact that he played lacrosse, and I like to keep up with NFL running backs. The fact that I didn't know that he played that sport is interesting to me. That's a
Yeah.
that's also a sport too. I don't fully understand it. But you know what? I know some people that do play it, and it
Yeah.
seems like it would be exhausting. I tried soccer. I tried soccer 1 year, and after practice, I said, "Yep, that was my first and last day playing soccer because we did more running in the warm-ups than I did in any other sport." And I'm like, "Yep, not for me." Lacrosse, I can imagine, is the same way. All that running up and down that field.
And King, I got one last thing that's also going to kind of blow this away, but also talk about our audience over here.
Oh,
So, you know how I can say that Jim Brown also was an American patriot?
mm-hmm.
Technically, we're talking about Captain Jim Brown. Oh, I bet none of y'all knew this. Back in the 50s, there was a lot of a lot of schools that ROTC was mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
And during his time at Syracuse, Jim Brown participated in the ROTC at Syracuse University. He was commissioned as a second lieutenant, and during his time in the NFL, he was a member of the United States Army Reserve. And after 4 years, he was discharged as with the rank of captain.
I knew he did some time in the military. I did not know he
Yeah.
was commissioned in the military.
Yep. ROTC was a big thing back in back in those days. There was a lot of colleges used to make it mandatory to kind of, I'm not going to say circumvent the draft, but to encourage those that were in there to still do their service for their country. And like I said, we're talking about 50, 60, 70 years ago. So it was a lot. It was very commonplace to see that, and it was offered at majority of the universities. But during that time, like I said, Jim Brown ended up getting commissioned, and he was a captain in the United States Army. If you can't believe, if Captain Jim Brown, I wouldn't be wrong in saying that.
This might not be an appropriate time to bring this up, right? May he rest in peace. In his history, he did have some allegations and a few, none that were ever substantiated. He never got charged with anything, but he did
Hmm.
have at least 6 or 7 allegations by some ladies that came forward. Did you ever hear or know about that at all there, coach?
I've heard about that, and let's be quite honest, this was a different time, and we look at domestic violence now as something that is something completely different, and we shouldn't be looking at it in a positive light whatsoever. And I'm not trying to put a positive spin on it, but it doesn't surprise me that those allegations, whether or not they're true, hey, it probably did happen. I'm not going to go ahead and say anything about bad about somebody who passed away. I will just say that we've come a long way in the fact that domestic violence is not seen as commonplace anymore in those types of situations. We do not glorify or we do not gloss over those things anymore. So, with him doing that, if that did happen, hey, look, it's a bad mark on him, and he has to repent and answer for that now with St. Peter. So, hopefully, he has talked about it. Hopefully, he has repented for there. But that being said, you know, I mean, let's just be quite honest with you. Back in those days, it was more commonplace than anything. We can go all the way back to the 17 and 1800s and early 1900s as well. And the domestic violence is definitely not dealt with the same way again. Thank God we've progressed that way from that. So I'll just leave it at that. Okay, because I'm not going to get into Ike Turner or anybody else like that. Oh yeah, I brought up Ike Turner. I know, my bad.
I was on mute. All right. Well, hey, we've had a couple of people in the chats. Heath Barlow said, I met Jim Brown once, super nice guy. I had a relative that met Jim Brown, and he said he was the kind of guy that when he spoke, it was quiet. The only thing you heard in the room or wherever he was at was Jim Brown talking. He said he just had this kind of gravitas and leadership about him that you could just tell if he was in the same room with you. And Charles said that I pronounced his last name right. Salute to me. He said that Jim Brown was one of the forefathers of football, and that the movie that you were talking about is indeed on Amazon Prime. Pop Culture Warrior gave me some feedback. So he said that I look sleep. Now I need to fix this because my sight line where I can read the comments and stuff is down here, but my camera's up here. And he puts on an amazing show on Tuesday. Now I have this computer and I'm gonna, you know what, this my background is a mess, but I'm just gonna show this. All right. So if I change this up, see how my eyeballs is kind of looking. There's this the software is keeping it so that my eyes stay looking at the camera even though I might be looking down. It is the creepiest thing ever. And for Pop Culture Warrior, I might leave this up here just so that it doesn't look like I am looking down and sleep. See, it's weird. Like the whole my eyes blinking. That's not naturally me. That is this software. being extra creepy.
Come on now. You broadcast from CQ's daggone battle station that he's got in his basement. You see how he's got that thing set up where every time he's looking straight into the camera, but he's looking up to go read the comments. He's looking to the right to see his YouTube numbers go up and his Facebook likes go up and everything. Come on now. See, CQ's got more screens than NORAD right now.
All right, I'm gonna turn that back off and put this background blur back on. But I am going to fix that. I am building this ship as I fly it over here. Damn it! All right, I still don't have um a proper intro. I still don't have a break video yet either, but we're working on that. I am going to work on the sight line and all of that stuff. But
I'm going to download those AFN commercials and just stream together 10 minutes of AFN commercials to take everybody off for a break video.
Quinlan Vaughn said R.I.P. Jim Brown, and Quaylen, I hope I didn't butcher your name, said I never knew he was a captain. Me neither. I knew he was in the military because I watched a video talking about him about a month
Another
ago.
AFN commercial.
But probably some of them AFN commercials, they had sports stuff on there. Interesting stuff. If you know, you know, it's Armed Forces Network. All right. And he said that eye contact thing gave me girly eyes. Did you like them, CQ? Did you want to stare into them lovingly? All right. Hey, when I heard the news about Jim Brown, I was a bit surprised because I heard it yesterday. And I was like, wait, hold up. And he passed away on the 18th. And that was a bit of a surprise to me because I would have thought that more sports stuff would have covered that. I didn't get an ESPN alert on my phone about that. And I get alerts about other stuff, but I did not get the alert on that. So final words for Jim Brown is great guy overall. One of the forefathers of football. I played running back. I like the running back position, and he was one of my top 5 running backs as well. So rest in peace to Mr. Jim Brown. All right, yeah. Coach, as we do here on the Sports Bar, we're going to get into the sports trivia. All right. So I'm going to go back to the 90s. I try not to go back in the 40s and 50s. Who cares about that stuff? But I do want to kind of keep it relevant. And I was going to go into some of the Preakness stuff as we recently just had the big races that happened over the last couple of days. But then I'm like, who knows some of the names of these obscure horses and what their times is? I know this is a sports show, but look, I don't watch horse race like that. One of these days, I would like to go to an event just to see how it is, experience the culture of it all, and it is definitely on my list to do. So if my lady is watching, if she wants to get dressed up, the only requirement for my lady is she have to wear one of them hats. She needs a Kentucky Derby or horse racing style hat. So
isn't the Preakness up in Baltimore too?
It is.
Or is that the?
Yeah, it is. Yep, yeah. It occurred right down the road from me. There were definitely people talking about it that were here locally. A lot of bettors were in on it as well. I haven't looked for any news to see who hit big, if any. I am aware of who won, and I was going to do sports trivia on that, but I decided to keep it around baseball and something relevant to what you might know. So this is going to go back to 1996, and it is
oh my god, you just picked my favorite year in baseball with that year.
Okay, then you should be able to get this one. I may even throw in what team this person played for. It if I did that, you would know. Okay, so let me do it this way. In 1996, who was the 8th youngest person to hit 200 home runs? I can give you a hint and tell you what team this person played for at the time that it occurred.
All right, yeah, I'm definitely gonna need a hint on this one.
Okay, let me go back in here and Double check.
Eighth youngest to hit 200 home runs in 96.
Yep, eighth youngest to hit 200 home runs in 1996. If I give you a hint, let me make sure he played for this team in 96.
Okay.
So I do want to double check that. Yes. All right. The team that he played for was the Seattle Mariners.
Okay. First off, you just made that completely the easiest daggone part right there because you just mentioned the Mariners. Now, let me explain about the 1996 baseball season because the 1996 baseball season started off for me with a Daily News headline from the New York Daily News saying, "Clueless Joe, what has Joe Torre signed himself up to?" Fast forward 10 months later, and Joe Torre is crying in the dugout after the New York Yankees win their first World Series since 1978. Gee, you think that I wouldn't remember that year? Now, in the 1995, the New York Yankees made the playoffs for the first time since 1981, and they went up against the Seattle Mariners. During that time, it was the only time that, as a player, Don Mattingly got into the baseball postseason, and he had a great postseason. Took the Seattle Mariners up into Game 5, and on first base was the man who hit his 200th home run. He ended up scoring on an RBI double hit by Edgar Martinez that went down the left field line. Gerald Williams' throw was late, and the man who slid home and to win Game 5 of the wild card series for the Seattle Mariners, who in 1996 became the eighth youngest player to hit 200 home runs, was the man who had his hat on backwards all the time, one of the greatest center fielders that ever played the game. And if it wasn't for the injuries that he occurred while he was playing for the Cincinnati Reds in the year 2000 and after, and plus he also played for the White Sox, and then he went back to Seattle when he retired. But he was one of the all-time greats, and that is the only player, too, who also played in the 90s to be named for the All-Century team, and his father was a New York Yankee, Ken Griffey Jr.
Ding, ding, ding. I knew if I said the team, I was trying to figure out another way of phrasing that without being too obscure. But I knew the moment I said the
Oh,
team, you would get it.
oh yeah. Now, if you would have told me that it was Gary if you would have said the San Diego Padres, I would have known it would have been Gary Sheffield. You said back then, if you would have said the Chicago White Sox, I would have told you it was Frank Thomas. If you would have told me the Cubs, it would have been Sammy Sosa at that time. I know I don't even remember what year it was, but I'm pretty sure McGuire was already past it. But I know in '96 he got traded. No, excuse me, 96 he was on the Oakland A's. 97 he got traded midway through the season to St. Louis. So yeah, anybody that you would have picked up on that team during that year, I would have told you who the player was. Yeah, that's how much I know about baseball, brother,
Nice.
especially during the '90s.
Yep. So our sports bar, sports trivia for today. On this day in 1996, Ken Griffey Jr. at the age of 26 became the eighth youngest to hit 200 home runs. All right. Now,
Um,
if there's any viewers or
mhm.
listeners that watch this and y'all happen to get this on a trivia question at your local bar, remember this day and be like, you know what? I was listening to Coach and King talk about that on the sports bar at WTF Nation Radio, and I owe those guys a beer because I knew that answer. You can go for the max points for turning that one in.
Now, do you know that a couple weeks before he hit his 200th home run in 1996, Ken Griffey Jr. also played part to a great game by the one, the only Dr. K, Mr. Dwight Gooden, a couple weeks prior to him hitting his 200th home run.
No, I don't.
That was Doc Gooden's no hitter in 1996.
Now, so for the baseball uninitiated, a no hitter makes sense, but can you tell me what a no hitter is, Coach?
Okay, so um, basically, all right. So we're seeing a lot of all right. In basically, it means throughout the entire game, whoever the pitcher is or the combination of pitchers, because we're seeing less and less complete games of happening. The pitcher does not allow a single hit throughout the entire game. That means that nobody is able to get a base hit either, and if any runners get on base, it's either done by an error, a walk, a balk, or a drop third. Well, even a drop third strike is considered something. Being able to get on base or catcher's interference. Some other way other than getting a hit, a runner is able to get on base. But regardless of that, if the team gets no hits whatsoever, that is considered a no hitter. Um, so that's how it happens. Now, there's a difference. There's a differentiation between a no hitter and a perfect game. A perfect game means that throughout the entire game, there are 27 at bats for the teams, usually separated about three times per the lineup. You go through the lineup three times. That means all 27 people have gotten out every time that they made a plate appearance. A no hitter, you can have a walk. Like I said, you can have people reach on base on a walk, an error, etc. But they have absolutely no hits. A perfect game, same exact thing. 27 players come up, 27 players go down.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Okay. What's considered a good batting average for people hitting the baseball? Like above what percentage?
Okay, you definitely want to get above a 300 batting average. That means every 3 hits out of every 10 at bats, you want to get a hit. Whether it doesn't matter what kind of hit it is, but that's long been the standard has been 300. Nowadays, because of the importance of other stats, people usually they like to use on base percentage or WAR, which is win above replacements, which I don't even fucking understand, but it's these stupid sabermetric stats. But 300 average, that is showing you that is a great player, and that's around what you would want to hit. Every major leaguer would want to get above a 300 average, or a .300 is how it comes up, but that's how we call it, a 300 average.
Okay. There's a question in the chat, and Coach, you would have to take this one because I would not have the slightest clue. How
Mhm.
often does a no hitter happen? And a second question, a perfect game. How often do those
Well,
two things occur?
that varies, okay, because usually, I mean, when I was growing up, it was usually about 2 to 3 times every season. A pitcher or a group of pitchers will pitch a no hitter without the game. Now, I don't remember how many were in last year or the year before, and sure as hell don't know about 2020. But there was basically it happens about 2 or 3 times a year that a team gets no hit throughout their entire game, and the pitcher throws a no hitter. A perfect game, that's a little bit rarer. You have that maybe about once every 5 to 6 years. The last time I remember a perfect game being thrown, I believe, was 2019, but don't quote me on that. It's usually rare to see a perfect game happen with it, and there's only been, I believe, gosh, how many perfect games? And I want to say there's definitely less than 70 perfect games. Um, there's been, I want to say, 70 or 80 perfect games throughout the entire. No, I take that back. Ooh, okay. So let me see. There have been 23 official perfect games within Major League Baseball, and I'm actually looking it up right now when the last one was thrown. The last time that one was thrown was in 2012. So it's been, wow, it's been that long. So it's been 11 years since a perfect game has been thrown. In fact, in 2012, there were 3 perfect games that were thrown. But that's the last time that anybody has thrown a perfect game. But a no hitter is, like I said, about 2 or 3 times a year is when you get, is usually when you get a no hitter. In fact, I'm looking it up right now. God, I haven't believed it's been 11 years since the last perfect game. Okay, and the last no hitter was okay. The most recent no hitter was thrown actually last year in the World Series during Game 4, but that was done by four different pitchers. The last complete game no hitter was, I know it was last year. Let me see who the heck threw that one. And that was Martin. No, the last no hitter that was done by one pitcher was Reed Detmers against the Tampa Bay Rays for the Los Angeles Angels last year in May. And then the Houston Astros pitched two no hitters that were combined. Christian Javier started both of those games, and then Ryan Presley closed out both of those games. One of them against New York Yankees last year in June, and then Game 4 of the World Series against the Phillies. The Astros no hit them in the World Series.
All right. There was somebody that asked a question, and the reason why I like this sports trivia stuff is I don't know much about baseball. I remember this question because there were several teams that tied, and for the sports trivia, we had a bonus points of if we could name the teams. So I don't know baseball like that, but Quaylen Vaughn asked, "Who has hit the most home runs in a single World Series?"
That one, I'm not even looking at that. I'm actually looking at the NASCAR race right now, which we'll probably get into it here in a moment.
We are.
But I know that one straight off the top of my head because that was done in 1977 by the straw that stirs the drink, Reginald Martinez
Reggie
Jackson.
Jackson. Yep.
5 times in 1997 he did that. Now, I mentioned that because it's been tied a couple
Mm-hmm.
times. I believe in a losing effort, Chase Utley in 2009 against the Yankees also hit 5 home runs in the series. And if I'm correct, one of the Houston Astros did it in 2017 when they won, but I don't give a fuck about them because they cheated. Um, yeah, that whole Altuve, and fuck Altuve because he sucks too. I want to say, oh god, Springer, I think in 2017 might have hit 5 home runs. I don't remember. Like I said, I only give a shit about one person, and that is Reginald Martinez Jackson, who did that in 1997 for the New York Yankees when they defeated the LA Dodgers.
So
And Reggie hit 3 home runs on 3 consecutive swings in Game 6 of the World Series to win the series for the Yankees.
I forget who or the frame of the question, but there was one person who did it twice. So one of the names in the trivia question was Reggie Jackson, and the other one was Albert Pujols. He
Pujols
did it
might have
twice.
done that in a series,
Okay.
but Reggie did it in the World Series. I think Pujols might have done that in like an ALCS or no, excuse me, in an NLCS because he was playing for the Cardinals at that time. But Reggie's the only one who ever did that in the World Series.
All right. Hey, I appreciate the questions, man. Y'all keep the questions coming in. Help keep Coach on his toes over here. All
Hey
right.
Pete, I have no idea. You know what? A lot of people have useless information that they're full of, and that was me. But I can also attest that growing up in New York, every day I used to listen to two guys, Mike Francesa and Chris Russo. They were known as Mike and the Mad Dog, and they were one of the people that they knew everything about sports. They were the pioneers of sports radio. That's the best way I could say it. And anybody that was a middle-aged man in New York, they listened to them no matter what was happening. And I learned a hell of a lot while driving in the car with my father, while listening to them on the radio. So yeah, that's where I got a lot of this information from.
All right. Let's see. All right. So Coming up, we have some information about what's considered the greatest day in motorsports. We have some NBA news to kind of hit you guys and gals with as well, and more. But before we do, let's take a look into the comment section and acknowledge the people who take their time to write us in the chat. So, David Cunningham said, "Good evening, King and Coach. Where do you think Shohei Otani will land if the Angels owner Art Moreno does not come up with a good contract? My thoughts are the LA Dodgers or Seattle Mariners because of Otani's relationship with Ichiro Suzuki." Coach, you have to take that one. I have no
I
baseball
got
knowledge
you. I
whatsoever.
got you. Okay. By the way, first of all, it's Shohei Otani,
So hey,
not
see, I got
Shohei.
close.
All right. And King, a little background on this. Shohei Otani is not only an outfielder for the Los Angeles Angels, but he's also a starting pitcher. He throws close to 100 miles an hour. And if it wasn't for Aaron Judge's unbelievable season of 62 home runs last year, Shohei Otani would be a repeat MVP. He is that good and that versatile of a player that he's able to affect the team not only with his batting and his home runs, but he's also able to pitch. And that hasn't happened since Babe Ruth back in when he was playing for the Red Sox. That's how long ago it's been since somebody had not only that power behind the plate, but also that much presence as a pitcher. So they're already talking about this guy breaking close to $500 million because the Angels also are blessed with another great center fielder, and that's the guy by the name of Mike Trout, and they already gave him a monster extension to keep him in an Angels uniform. The thing is that with the way things are going right now, the Angels, between Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, they can only do so much. Mike Trout can go 4 for 4, hit 2 home runs, and Shohei Ohtani can do something that hasn't been done in over a year, and the Angels will still lose 8-3 every night. That said, there's been a lot of talk about Shohei Ohtani being upset with the Angels. It wouldn't surprise me that he becomes the most sought after free agent since Aaron Judge last season, but since Alex Rodriguez in 2000. And he's going to command one of the highest contract negotiations that has ever occurred within baseball. That being said, I believe that the Dodgers, the Giants, the Angels, the Mariners, the Yankees, and the Mets are all going to be in the hunt for Shohei Ohtani. And if any of those teams were to break the bank just to get him on there, I actually see one team doing that. Damn the salary cap, damn the luxury tax, damn everything. And that is actually the New York Mets. I can definitely say that the New York Mets are the ones that are actually going to break the bank for him because he is going to be the first $50 million a year player for what he can do behind the plate or for what he can do at the plate and what he can do up there on the pitching mound. You have a dual threat, which doesn't happen in Major League Baseball except for once every 100 years. This guy's going to go ahead and go to a place where the most money is going to be thrown at him. If he does take something where he's staying on the West Coast so he can be closer to Japan, or he's got ties with the Japanese team, he will take significantly less money and will go against everybody else's thinking. But I truly believe that he is going to be a New York Met because the Mets are going to be stupid enough to throw him $500 million over 10 years to keep him from going anywhere else and use him as a starting pitcher as well as an outfielder.
Okay. All right. Great answer. Hey, David Cunningham. He threw out 5 teams out there. Who would you say you would think? Because David gave 2 teams. Who would you say would likely be if he landed on either of those 2 teams? You wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised if he landed on the Dodgers because the Dodgers have more capital than the St. Louis Mariners or the Seattle Mariners do. The Mariners, I mean, they're a great organization. They haven't won it all. They really aren't those big of a spenders up there in the Pacific Northwest. But because of the Japanese ties, because of Ichiro Suzuki, being kind of a welcome nest for all the Japanese players up there and the ties that they have, there could be some loyalties that can be swayed. But I believe out of those two, I think the Dodgers have a heck of a lot more money and a lot more capital, plus can get him more exposure just by being the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers are one of the premier teams in Major League Baseball. So it wouldn't surprise me if they, like I said, they go after him whatsoever. And him, Mookie Betts on the same team. Oh boy, you are calling for championship expectations year after year, Dodger fans.
All right. Okay. Hey, good question, David, and thank you for asking
Heck yeah.
that. Hey, Quaylen, you have two questions. I start them both. We're definitely going to answer them, but when we talk about motorsports news today, I will put your question up to answer then. But I do have them. I will not forget them. Thank you for asking. Let's go into some
Mhm.
NBA news right now. We're at the top of the hour, Coach. If you need to take a break, we can.
No, I'm good, brother. I'm good. That tall boy that I opened up is already done, and I think I'm good for the night. I don't need to be drinking anymore.
All right, let's get into some NBA news. We are in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. Yesterday, the Los Angeles Lakers lost again to the Denver
Oh,
Nuggets, and I'm surprised. I'm a bit surprised. I thought that the Lakers would have at least made this a tough 7 game series. So the fact that they're down, is it 3 games now? Facing,
3-0 right
yep,
now, facing elimination.
facing an elimination. I'm a bit surprised. I thought they would the Lakers would have at least taken one in these three, at least one of the home games, which apparently this loss in Los Angeles was their first home loss in this year's playoffs. Are you surprised at what's happening out of the West?
Man, I am surprised with every single one of my basketball picks because I swear to God, I cannot pick anything whatsoever when it comes to basketball. I was terrible during the NCAA pool. I kept going for the daggone Knicks and fuck Julius Randle. But that being said, I am having a damn hard time, and I believe this is that East Coast bias of basketball because as soon as I saw LeBron James playing like the way he was in the first 2 rounds, I thought King James and Anthony Davis were going to go ahead and be the unstoppable force like I thought that they would be. But man, oh man, does LeBron look tired. And Jokic, the Joker, I swear to God, I mean, for last week, I got Jokic and Doncic confused because I don't watch any West Coast games whatsoever. But Jokic is turning out to be the real deal Holyfield.
Yes.
And, him and for crying out loud, Murray, I forgot that he was playing in the NBA. And now all of a sudden he's been stepping it up over the past 2 games. That being said, with everything that they're doing, Denver's got 5 more games that they need to win, and Denver is looking like it's going to be on a men on a mission. I don't think there's going to be any way that the Lakers are going to come back 3-0 down. That's not happened in NBA history. 3-1 downs only happened a handful of times. The last time that I remember it happening was 2016 when King James came back
It's Golden State.
against Golden State. But that being said, I don't see the Lakers moving it on to the finals. Denver is going to be in the finals for the first time in their existence. And Jokic is now coming up on the stage, 2-time MVP. This man's going to go ahead and just take that step, just like Giannis did back in what was it, last year? Yeah, no, excuse me, 2 years ago when Milwaukee won the championship. Giannis took that big step into the NBA Finals, became the superstar and the soon-to-be Hall of Famer that he has now become. And it looks like Jokic is going to go ahead and try to take that step. So Denver, man, there's nothing bad I can say about them right now, but they are on a roll, and I don't see anybody stopping them. Even even the Celtics out of the East. I don't think that they're going to have any problems with the Celtics.
Man, I've heard this stat somewhere, and I wish I would have saved it. But there's been over 100, and here we go. I found it.
Yeah.
149 teams, according to ESPN stats and information. I'm sorry, 149 games. NBA teams are 0-49 when trailing 3-0 in a best of seven series. And I doubt, even though I consider LeBron James as the greatest NBA player of all time. Yes, I said that publicly. I will stand on that square. No team has ever been down 0-3 in a best of seven and won. And this Denver Nuggets team is likely not going to be the first time that that's ever
No,
occurred. Now,
no.
conversely, let's get out of the West. Let's go over to the
Mm-hmm.
East. In the East, you have currently playing now. Thanks, David Cunningham, for putting the score up a couple of minutes ago. You have in this will be game three, the Boston versus Miami Heat. People weren't talking about this Miami Heat team in the East prior to the playoffs. Now they seem to be the talk of the ball as they came and went into Baltimore, won both of those games. I'm going to say fairly easy with some phenomenal defense. And now they're back at home in game three, currently leading in the first quarter. And everybody's talking about how phenomenal Jimmy Butler is playing. What do you have to say about this game out of the East, coach?
I still think the Celtics can pull it off, but even after looking at this first quarter right now, I don't think Jason Tatum's got it in him right there with everything that he's got happening. I'm actually tuning it right now over to the Celtics and Heat game right now. Jimmy Butler, I saw a picture. Somebody said that Jimmy Butler looks like his father when he's playing defense, and they had a picture of Michael Jordan right next to him. And
Ooh.
the looks were almost exactly the same. Like you saw Jimmy Butler's eyes and you saw Jordan's eyes, and there was that determination that I hadn't seen for a while. But looks can be a little bit deceiving. I'll tell you right now, this Miami Heat team is on a dream run. They got in on a play-in game. And they beat my beloved Knicks. Oh, King, the greatest of all time. I still have to call you that. That being said, this Heat team right now is on fire. And I'm looking at it right now. The Heat are up by 10. And Boston right there just threw up a brick, and it looks like, well, let's see who's happening there. But Miami's got a lot of good role players on this team, carried by Jimmy Butler on there. I mean, you're going to have better talents. You're going to have better. The Heat the Heat are outmatched on talent. The Heat just have one player who is phenomenally hot and some role players that are stepping up right at the right time. And man, I don't these magical runs that happen with now are happening in the NBA. They're a little bit tough to deal with, but then when they get hit by a buzzsaw, like it's going to be happening in Denver, everything comes crashing down. Everything just ends up becoming, just a silly thing right there. And then the deflation of everybody's momentum just completely gets out of the daggone window, or gets completely out of the air, gets completely out of the balloon, and then reality starts hitting it. I still am holding on to hope right now after Boston, for Boston to advance. And I'm looking right now at the game, and unfortunately, you got Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports sitting in the front row wearing a Larry Bird jersey in the middle of the Heat's arena. Okay, maybe right now I'm not banking on the Celtics, because if Dave Portnoy is in the front of the game wearing a Larry Bird jersey, maybe I might just go ahead and change allegiances. But man, the Heat, uh, man, it pains me to say this. It really does pain me to say this, but maybe the Heat might make it to the NBA Finals. Fuck me.
Hey man, absolutely. Look, So the additional players that you were talking about, the Martin brothers going off. In game two, he
Mhm.
played 32 minutes, went 11 of 16 from the field, 3 of 7 from three-pointer, had a couple of rebounds, a steal, and a block. He was the second leading scorer on that team behind Jimmy Butler, playing off of the bench. Now, the Heat does this thing where they start Kevin Love, who's considered a veteran of the team, but he doesn't
Mhm.
really get a lot of minutes, and he's iffy on if he contributes scoring. I remember the Kevin Love of the Cleveland days with LeBron James, and it was like 1-2. LeBron James, Kevin Love until Kyrie Irving came in there. But Love was a consistent double-double in points and rebounds. And now
Oh yeah.
he's there. There was one play, I want to say it was game one, where Kevin Love like hustled and got down the field and scored, but
Yep.
it was just in like a short burst. And I'm like, man, if Boston's not going to get upfield to stop Kevin Love, who's like as old as I am running down the field, then Boston doesn't have a chance when you got the Heat team hustling this way. I think that this game is going to be a sweep. If Boston loses this game tonight at home, I think the Lakers have a better chance of avoiding a sweep at home for game four than Boston does in playing this Heat team. That, I mean, look, they've played great defense and they score efficiently. They were 94% in free throws in game two, 34% from 3 point, and 45.7% from the field. Interesting enough, Boston actually was a better they had more of a better shot selection in game two, but they didn't hit as many as free throws as they did.
Yeah.
And Boston, when you watch the games, so I'm able to catch the games most evenings in this Eastern and Western Conference Finals. The way the Heat playing the fourth quarter,
Yep.
you see them turn it on. They're applying pressure from the start of the fourth to the end of the fourth. And I'm curious. I think we're still going to be live when the game's still going. I've got the game up on my phone, but it's difficult to watch and do the show. But I'm curious if that fourth quarter is going to stay that
Ooh.
way. What just happened?
Oh, I just saw one of the best alley oops right here, and I got to say something about the this Heat team too that I'm noticing throughout this. Not only is their defense good, where it's just Boston throwing up bricks and throwing up, everything behind the daggone the rim, but I just saw, I'm seeing the Heat playing the type of team ball that I described with the New York Knicks that they should have been playing.
Mm,
Like the Knicks from the '70s. This guy Robinson, man, he just threw an alley oop over to I don't know, I can't remember this guy's name, but number 13 on the Heat. And I'm just seeing the Heat finding the open man constantly, getting open shots, passing the ball when it needs to be done, great ball movement, great defense, and you cannot win against that.
hmm.
You cannot win against a team that is playing team ball. And look, none of this happened with Butler on the court. You know, for crying out loud. This is happening with the role players. This is happening without their superstar. And they're playing team ball and they are picking apart the Boston Celtics.
Yep.
My hopes are now getting dashed right now for everything that they're doing. And I cannot believe that this is happening. But regardless of how it's happening right there, man, it just still pains me to say this that I am seeing the freaking Heat, beating my daggone New York Knicks. And now, right now, as it stands, leading game three with game four coming up to get to the NBA Finals as an 8 seed.
Yep.
It pains me. That pains me.
As an AC. Now check this out. I'm looking at the game three stats, man. Martin again going off. He's tied with the most points right now, coming off of the bench. He's got 12 minutes, but he's 4 of 5 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3 point range with 2 assists. He's tied with Vincent. All right, not Jimmy Butler, not Bam, Adebayo, but there's two people
It
in.
was it was Adebayo that caught that alley oop from
Oh,
Robinson.
nice. Yep. So Gabe, Vincent, and is this Cody? Caleb. This is Caleb Martin. Caleb
Caleb,
Martin
yeah, Caleb
are
Martin.
the leading scorers so far with 10 points each, and there is no Boston player in double digit figures. However,
No.
Brown's playing a lot better. Tatum is actually the one struggling a little bit today, but nobody else is doing anything. The Celtics have shot 43.8% from the field, whereas the Miami Heat are 66.7% from the field. They're 18 of 27, 6 of 12 3-pointers, whereas Boston is 14 of 32 with 4 of 12 from the 3-pointer and 0 for 1 in their only free throw attempt. You're not
Yep.
going to win a game that way. If Boston somehow comes back and wins this game with the snapshot of the stats that I just said, that would be an utter collapse by the Miami Heat. They are in strong command of this game early on.
Yep. Yes, they are. Yes, they
Oh,
are.
and we have
Oh,
an
it's
update
killing me
right
right
here
now.
from David. He said that Kevin Love went out of the game with a knee injury and he don't know if he'll return. All right. Hey,
Oh,
before we go into motorsports news, and close out NBA news because that's all we've got for updates on NBA news. What do I think of LeBron James? I think he is the greatest player of all time. I think he will play at least 2 more seasons this season, next season, and if his son is one and done, I think he wants to be a player in the league at least 1 season for his son, and then he's going to hang it up. I think that narrative it writes itself, right? It writes
yep.
itself, and he's healthy enough to still be a starter. This guy spends money and time to keep himself up at the same age as me and to be in his 20th year in the league playing at an all-star elite level is insane. I played flag football
Yeah.
today and everything in my body still hurts. Okay. So for this dude to
Ah,
play 40 minutes in an NBA game starting at an elite level is fantastic.
yeah. I think the same thing too. I think once Bronny plays the game, I think they're going to have a father son. Either they're going to be on opposite teams, or hopefully, I like to see them in the same on the court at the same time, wearing the same uniform. Have it go for 1 season, but with the way things are going right now, I doubt the Lakers are going to be able to draft Bronny. But in the event that it happens, and hey, LeBron wants to take a 1 year flyer for whatever team that Bronny's playing, that'll be that year, and then let him close it out and end his NBA career there. All-time leading scorer, one of the best all-around players, and I'll just say this right now: Michael Jordan would probably score 20 on him, 25 on him. And the only reason why he'd only score 25 on him is because he's 50 something years old. Okay, that's the only reason why. Jordan's still the greatest player that ever played the game. LeBron is the greatest overall player that ever played the game.
Hmm.
That's what I'll say. I'll say it that way. He is the best talent to ever come out of that league. Not the greatest player, because that's MJ, but he is the greatest talent to ever grace the NBA with his all around game.
Hey,
Phenomenal all around game.
I call LeBron James GOAT James. He to me, LeBron's the GOAT, Jordan's right behind
Uh,
him. GOAT James. GOAT James.
hey, that being said, okay, LeBron's got 3 championships. Jordan's got 6.
True.
Jordan, 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 for the time that he got into the NBA, all the way up until he retired, was considered the greatest of all time. There's been debates about who else was the greatest of all time, because right now LeBron played with Steph, played during Durant when Durant was hot. For crying out loud, Giannis has done everything. During the time that Jordan played in the NBA, he played against Magic, he played against Bird, he played against Olajuwon, played against David Robinson, played against all of these other players, and every single one of them said that Jordan was the greatest of all time. How many times have we heard those debates about all these other players being one of the best players in the NBA? But hands down, nobody ever said that nobody other than Jordan, during while he was playing, was the greatest that ever played at that time.
Hmm, okay.
That's my hands down argument.
De-
Okay, you're talking about
debatable.
you talk. Nah, that ain't debatable. That ain't debatable. Jordan from his contemporaries, everybody said Jordan was the greatest basketball player that ever played that game.
Man,
Okay.
I wish I had enough time. I'd put up a poll on Facebook to list LeBron Jordan, or I'll put other to see who the people would consider as the greatest of
See
all
now,
time.
there's another part right there too that we could talk about LeBron Jordan and other because Jordan won't say he's the greatest of Jordan will say he's the greatest of all time. But if you get a bunch of young people, if you get a bunch of old people on there, they'll tell you one other name, and that's Bill Russell. 11 championships in 13 years.
All right.
There's no debate on that. No debate on that. 11 championships, 13 years. Now, that was at a time when the NBA only had about 8 teams, and I will say this Russell had to play up against who a lot of people thought was the greatest basketball player of all time in Will Chamberlain. But, as I said, 11 championships in 13 years. There is room to say that Bill Russell is also the greatest of all time. But I have never definitively heard other people and people of my age and people of that played against him definitively say that while he played, Jordan was the greatest of all time.
Okay. All right. Ooh, is my microphone on?
Yeah, your mic's on, buddy. I
All
hear you.
right. I had to put my microphone and video on mute for a second. Let's see.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. You're right. LeBron does have 4 championships. I forgot about that Laker championship.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I can only put this poll up on the WTF Nation radio, and we have more. The most of our viewers are on U.S. Army WTF moments.
TF moments.
So, I don't have access to that
You know
page.
what? You know what? Wait, you still have access to the sports bar,
I
right?
do.
Let's put it up on the sports bar. Let's tell everybody to go onto the sports bar page, like the sports bar, and go ahead and vote on the poll on that one.
Mm,
Ah,
you know what? Yeah, we'll put that up after the show. So not live yet
all
because it's
right,
gonna
buddy.
take me a minute to do it. But
I
we can
got you.
certainly put that poll up on the sports bar. So if you go to the sports bar on Facebook, and I'm gonna see if I can put the link here in the description. We do have the sports bar page off of WTF Nation Radio. Let's see the sports bar. I'm gonna put the link down in the chat. If you could do us a favor and like that page, it is Sports Bar, the Sports Bar USA over on Facebook, or Fakebook as some people call it. All right. That is managed by Coach and myself. We're looking at getting that, engaged and stuff as well. So if you could give that page a follow and a like, we would appreciate it. We're going to have the poll there. I'm also going to be doing like different contests and stuff. So if you want to be up to date on that, as I talk about different contests and things that we have here, make sure that you're following this stream on Sundays and checking out the Sports Bar USA over on Facebook. All right. Let's see.
Another
Oh,
thing I got to say about the Miami before we move out of the NBA, I think Miami right now has, by ratio, the most number of white guys that can't jump on their team.
but
They even got the white guy at the face mask on the team for crying out loud. The dude who looks like he dominates the YMCA ball over there at the over at your local YMCA, the one who plays dirty defense and everything. But yeah,
hey,
and speaking of that, do you know that they remade White Man Can't Jump?
now okay, depending on who they have
Oh,
in it, I'd be there for it. But you're gonna have to have some actors that can hold up to Woody Harrison and why am I blanking on this name? Wesley Snipes. Yeah. See, this is why doing live streams can sometimes.
and Rosie
Yeah.
Perez.
Hey, I was in
Oh,
love with me some Rosie Perez, brother. Oh man, you have no idea. Growing up, oh my goodness, Rosie Perez and that accent and how she looked.
oh
Oh,
dear
like
God.
if I had a type, that
And
was it.
she tore apart Alex Trebek on Jeopardy in that movie.
Oh yeah,
Look at
like
you.
Ding. Who is Ding? What is Ding? Oh, that.
I still know, now, going back to the Bible, that the fruit that Eve actually ate wasn't an apple; it was a quince.
Quince, yeah, because it was the way she
Yep.
said it.
Yep.
Oh man, no, I did not hear that they were remaking White Men Can't Jump. Hey, Coach, thanks for that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
look that up. I will look that
Oh
up,
God.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Hey, that's a classic. That's a classic.
Yeah.
If Hollywood or whoever's going to redo that, you better do it right, because that to me is a
Yeah.
classic. Don't mess that up.
I don't think you can remake White Man Can't Jump. You know, I mean, for crying out loud, who are you going to get? Pete Davidson?
Oh, hey, don't get me started on him.
Oh,
Look,
God.
no spoilers, but he was in the Fast and Furious movie. I guess that could be considered a spoiler. I like the Fast and Furious franchise. If Pop Culture Warrior is still listening, he's gonna flame me for this. I'm a huge fan of all the Fast and Furious movies. I even like Tokyo Drift, and that's the one that people say, "Oh, you can
Oh,
skip that one." So I went and saw Fast and Furious this past Friday. It was the same ridiculousness as all of it was. You're likely going to hear the word family 11 times, but it was fantastic to me. I like that kind of stuff. I like the action of it all. I like the ridiculousness of it all. Pete Davidson was in it. And my only critique of the movie, there's a lot of different things, and without going into spoilers, actually, Pop Culture Warrior said that if I were to do a video review, he would allow me to put it on his page, but I never got around to
oh,
recording it. I still might though. The only critique that I have is that the scene that Pete Davidson was in didn't need to be in the movie. It was already like a 2 hour and 20-minute movie. That scene itself was like, I don't know, 10 minutes. It didn't need to be in the movie. Out of all of
I
the
don't know. It,
ridiculousness and stuff that occurred, the Pete Davidson scene did. I'm trying to figure out too, because you mentioned Pete Davidson. How does this dude keep getting roles? What kind of blackmail does he have on people that he can get put into these roles, because he's the same dude in all of the things that he's in, no matter what. I don't understand it.
I don't know either. I don't know how the hell he's in Taco Bell commercials either, for crying out loud. But yeah, Pete Davidson, I mean, that's what you get for when you date a Kardashian. You know, you get I guess he's got the reverse Kardashian curse. You know how, like, Lamar Odom and Chris Humphries and all the other, and Kanye, they all went to shit after dating a Kardashian. I guess Pete Davidson, got the reverse of that curse, and he's the one who's immortal. He survived the Kardashian relationships, and now he's got the blank check for Hollywood.
Yeah, hey, apparently, you know what? That could be it. He's got the opposite of the Kardashian effect, or maybe he knows where all of the bodies are buried, so he leverages that to get these roles, because it doesn't make sense. I think this snake cup could
Isn't
act
isn't Kim
better
Card
than Pete
is
Davidson.
isn't Kim Kardashian also rumored now to be with Tom Brady?
Apparently it's so I
Oh God,
man,
that's
what a
sad.
life. What a life. I am not going to hate. I'm going to say what a life.
I know, I
Let's
know.
check these comments, because there were a lot of them that popped up before we move on to what is considered the greatest day in motorsports. All right. Jose Santiago said you can't anoint a greatest until they are done. I partly agree with that.
Mm,
Partly agree with that.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, because when Jordan was playing, I thought he was the greatest of all time. When Brady was still winning his championships with the Patriots, I said he was the greatest quarterback of all time. And now that he's done, officially, he is the greatest of all time. There's exceptions to those rules, and that it does have to go down to who the greatest is, and when it comes down. Now, the only reason why we're having this debate with LeBron is because he's still playing. And even if he wasn't playing right there, there'd still be a debate with LeBron.
You know, I agree with that. Also, I want to add this. I'm seeing some new names here at the sports bar. I don't know if you watch any of the other shows, but I'm glad to see some of these new names and the regular people that I see as well. Michelle, my guy Pete the Greek over there. But Jose Santiago, this is the first time that I've seen your name pop in our chat here at the sports bar. And so I appreciate your input. We're going to have some call ins. I think I'm going to make the last Sunday of the month be the call in show. So if people want to come on and talk sports
Yeah.
with us, we will absolutely do that. So I'm queuing that up now. Next Sunday is the last Sunday of the month. It is also a holiday weekend. We will be live next Sunday. All right, well, Coach,
Yep. Memorial Day
Coach,
weekend.
we are going to be live on next Sunday, right?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
we will be live next Sunday, and trust me, I will be distracted or and I will be tired because I'll be watching TV all day next Sunday.
Yep. And look, I'm coming back from I actually planned my beach trip with my family and my lady to make sure that I'm able to come back and do the sports show next week. So we are going to be live, but next week's going to be a call-in show. So for those of y'all that want to tune in and talk some sports with us, you'll have the ability to do so. So keep that
Oh
in
yeah.
mind. But Jose wrote, Heat Nuggets finals are coming up. Boston just ain't got no fight in them. If Tatum's not scoring an extra 10 points is the reason you are losing, then you suck as a team. That fact. I don't have anything else to add to that. He may be a star, but if the four of the guys on the court are not productive enough to get ... and there might have been more, but he didn't write it. Let's see.
To get you 10, then you were not going to
Oh,
win anyways. No, it was in the
then you're not gonna
comments.
get it.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Let's see. David said, King, I remember when Rosie Perez used to dance on Soul Train. Me too.
Ooh,
Yes, she did.
it's time once again for everybody to get on the
Soul
soul
Train.
train. Don Cornelius.
Oh man, yep, the good old Don Cornelius and his Soul
Yeah,
Train announcement.
another guy, rest in peace. He's definitely missed nowadays. And he just made it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Good deal. He definitely
Yeah,
deserves it. Absolutely.
hell yeah.
Grooming and Reviews 101 said, so you just like throwing your money away. Maybe.
You do it. Hey, you did invest in crypto.
Hey, I'm still up. Yes, I invested in crypto, but I invested early. If I invested after the height of it all when everybody else did, I'd be negative and mad as hell. But the fact that I invested early, I made decent profits and I am thankful for it. I still think, all right, I don't know if there's any other crypto investors here. I still think that there are some that if you're able to just be patient, it can pay off for you. That's just me. That's just me. All right.
Anybody else find it ironic that he invested early and now he's dating an early?
Hey, Michelle Early said, I stand alone with Tokyo Drift. Hey, like I said, I like it. You like what you like. David said he just saw Fast X. All I can say is everyone has 9 lives like a cat. Yes, it doesn't make sense the way stuff occurs and people pop up. So without any spoilers, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm like, wait, what?
Hey, halftime heater up by 15.
Mm, mm, mm.
Mm.
Grooming and Reviews, which is my guy Pete, said the Fast and Furious movies are good for kids. You know what? Surprisingly enough, when we went, I don't think there were any kids. It was all people over the age of 18 who was in the movie theaters. But Michelle said that she's going to bed. Hey, good night, Michelle. I know you go to bed pretty early, so you go to bed early for it early. I didn't. I wasn't even trying to go there, but I appreciate you popping in for the time that you can give here for the sports bar. Just make sure you hit that like button on the way out on whatever platform you're watching on. And even if you're not watching on YouTube, just go over there to YouTube, hit the like button real quick anyway, and then get you some
Michelle,
Z's, baby.
Michelle, Michelle early hit the like button earlier.
Ha
Ha!
ha. Doo-doo. Yep. And David Cunningham put it in the chat. Boston 46, Miami 61 halftime. Like I said, that defense is it. When you watch them play and you watch the defense of the Heat, they're forcing the Boston Celtics to make some interesting shots, and they're not dropping. Tatum is only one person. Ooh, and one last thing. Embiid talked about how before Doc Rivers got fired, because that happened also from the last show
Oh
to
yeah.
this show. So Doc Rivers of the 76ers got fired. Some people were having a conversation about Doc Rivers really ain't a great coach. He's a player's coach. People like him, but they don't understand how Rivers keep getting these opportunities when he's only won like what one. Well, he's won a
One
championship.
champ.
He's won a
He's won a
championship.
championship,
All right.
but it was also highlighted by one of the greatest defensive seasons with KG and having a super team with Ray Allen and Paul Pierce.
Mm-hmm. So he got fired after being in Philly for 3 seasons. Embiid came out and said, you can't win a series with just two people being him and Harden. But I'm like, isn't that what Tatum did in game 7 of the last series in which Tatum went off for 51 points? Okay,
Yep.
Embiid did not have a takeover game like that. All right. So some teams are highlighted. Jimmy Butler seems like one of those guys that if he wants to take over, he's going to take over a game and there's nothing you can do about it. Or like somebody said in a podcast, Jimmy Butler came on with the twos. It was either the twos or the threes, like guys that were barely going to make the team and hardly scored a single point, but he put other people in a position to score points and then walked out of practice beating the starters. Butler played with the threes, people that may not even make the squad, and beat the starters when he played for the Timberwolves and then walked out of practice. I thought that was one of the coolest stories of all time right there.
Oh yeah.
So he doesn't necessarily have to be the one taking over a game, putting up points, but he makes everybody else better around them by putting that dog in them. And I think Butler's definitely one of those people that can do that. I think LeBron, if he wanted to, can take over a game. And game 4 tomorrow is going to determine, I think, what you see out of LeBron. If uh, AD has to step up, is this going to be a good AD night or a mediocre AD night tomorrow? We'll see. But I think we're going to see a triple double out of LeBron tomorrow easily, especially if they start off slow. All right.
Yep.
And let's see.
I got
And
you.
the last thing before we go away from NBA news, Jose said that defense is good for shooting teams. Do you think it'll work against Denver if they decide to try to play through Jokic in the paint? Okay, so great question. Mm, maybe
You know, I'll say
it's
this though: Jokic is so versatile that his outside game is just as good as his inside game. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's 7 foot and 260 plus pounds, and he's still able to, hit a whole bunch of great jump shots and have a great 3 point range out there. And Murray is helping him on the outside as well too. So that being said, even with the defense that they're playing out there, Denver's got the inside game, but they've also got Jokic playing on the outside game, and he's flexible enough that he can make it work both ways. So at this moment, it'd be interesting, but there's definitely going to have to be some adjustments to be made on Miami's part if they're going to if this NBA Finals is going to be competitive.
now who would match up for the Heat against Denver down low? Look, Bam is that guy, but Aaron Gordon's inside game is good as well. But Denver's offense goes like Jokic, Murray. They have the most highest usage of that team. I think next goes Brown, who's technically not a starter, but a guy that comes off the bench, but he averages, I think, third or fourth in minutes. But Aaron Gordon and Porter, right? They're not
Hmm.
they don't have as much usage around, but if they do decide to go down low against that Heat, who guards against who if it's either Jokic or somebody else that plays on the inside?
I'm going to have to say Adebayo is going to have to be the guy that's going to have to step up and, try to keep him that way, because lengthwise, you're not going to have anybody that's going to be as tall and as long as Jokic. And on top of that, too, Adebayo, he's a physical type of player, but he's also that defensive minded player. So he's going to have to adjust his game in order to do that. I mean, for crying out loud, the only other option that you got is Kevin Love, and Kevin Love ain't that player.
Mm-mm.
So Jokic is definitely going to be a matchup nightmare for the Heat if they make it to the finals.
Okay. All right. Hey, great questions. I love the questions that everybody
Yep.
have, and Jose's then came in with some bangers tonight, so I appreciate that. To Raymond Trueblood said, "Good evening. Good evening to you as well. I appreciate you popping in over on Facebook." David Cunningham, and this will be the last NBA comment before we go on to other sports news. I think that the Heat are too good of a 3-point team. The Nuggets will have to play a man defense, and I could definitely see that happening.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
I can
Yep.
definitely see that happen for
Yep.
sure.
And we're going to have some high scoring games. We are going to have games that are going to be like 120 to 110. That you're going to be looking at that as like those are going to be the final scores of the games, which 25 years ago you were lucky to get an 80 to 74 type of game. It was like college sports, in the NBA finals. Now you're going to be getting some freewheeling types of games over here in the Heat and the Denver Nuggets are going to be matching up against each other.
Yep. All right. Let's see. We got two more things to cover before we close out today's show. Popping up on your screen here is the word the greatest day in motorsports. Some might even call it the triple crown of motorsports. Coach, tell us about what's coming up, man, in racing sports. That's a bit of a big deal.
Well, first off, I want to go ahead and I want to congratulate Kyle Larson on winning the NASCAR All Star race, which literally just happened. He's doing his burnouts across North Wilkesboro, and that in and of itself, that North Wilkesboro is back after a 27-year absence, is a phenomenal feat right there. This is the first time that a racetrack that has been closed for this long has come back to host a race. And the funny thing and the ironic thing is that this all-star race was all started. Get this, NASCAR fans. You have to thank Joe Biden for North Wilkesboro coming back because of his bipartisan infrastructure bill that he signed into legislation. The state of North Carolina got about 50 million extra dollars through their state budget. 40 million of that infrastructure budget went to SMI, which is Speedway Motorsports Incorporated. And they decided to invest close to $20 million into North Wilkesboro Speedway, a property that has not been used in 27 years, to get the racetrack back up so that fans can come out. And now the NASCAR All-Star Race is there getting hosted in a track that I absolutely loved. I saw it when it was abandoned and it was overgrown. There was freaking weeds everywhere. There was daggone trees that were growing into the stands. And now you've got close to 50,000 NASCAR fans cheering on Kyle Larson as he steps out of his car and wins $1 million after the All-Star race. So, NASCAR fans, you have to thank Joe Biden for that. Oh, that's definitely got to hurt. But as I digress, next Sunday is the greatest day in motorsports. For those of you that do not follow motorsports as intensely as I do, you have the opportunity to watch three of the most premier races throughout three separate motor racing disciplines. It starts off in the morning with Formula One as they race through the streets of Monaco in the Monaco Grand Prix. And the Monaco Grand Prix is basically what they call a procession race, is because however they want to start it up, but you're racing in the streets of Monaco right around the Monte Carlo casino. all through this entire area. You actually go right past the entire Mediterranean Sea, and you see all these billionaires on yachts. It is one of the crown jewel races on the F1 schedule, one of the most prestigious ones, but I call it a procedural one because basically there is no passing whatsoever. But you see the most technologically advanced cars racing through these streets, through the tight corners, underneath the casino, in the tunnel, throughout the most ridiculous hairpin turns and the tightest turns, the one of the swimming pool chicanes around there. In order to get through this at the speeds that they're going, you have to be one of the most technically sound drivers out there. But that starts off the morning. Then in the afternoon, right at 12:30, the greatest American race comes on, and that is the Indianapolis 500. Just yesterday and today, they set the field of 33 racers that will be competing in the Indy 500. And if you have not seen an Indy 500, this is the fastest race that you are going to see, where the average speed of each of the Indy cars that race on there goes to 225 miles per hour around the 2.5 mile oval at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's been a Memorial Day weekend spectacle for the past 100 or so years, and it will go on for 100 more because this is the granddaddy of them all. The race that everybody in America stops to do and at least checks out once for the year. Then, in the evening time, starting at around 6 o'clock and probably closing out the day close to the 11, NASCAR comes back from Charlotte Motor Speedway for one of their crown jewel events, and that is the longest race of the year, the Coca-Cola 600. For those of you that are watching, that I'm pretty daggone definite that you guys are doing this because this is our audience. You have a military tie whatsoever. The Coca-Cola 600 is the NASCAR's thank you to every person in uniform. They absolutely love us over there at the Coca-Cola 600. I have been to 5 or 6, shit, I don't even know how many Coca-Cola 600s I've been to. I've been to like 6 or 7 while I was on active duty. And every single red blooded redneck American that I met over there thanked me for my service, bought me whatever I wanted, and for crying out loud, in 2015, I won a car there. That doesn't mean anything about the race that's going to be happening because it is 600 miles that race is. It is the longest. It is the endurance race for the NASCAR season. One of the greatest races that happens every year on the schedule and rounds out the greatest day in motorsports that happens every year, the Sunday of Memorial Day. By the time that you're done, you're going to want to scream, "Buggity, buggity, buggity, let's go racing, boys!" and get into your 18.9% Dodge Charger that you got from the Lemon Lot. And you're going to want to go ahead and just start going all the way up and down the All American or whatever, road leads you over to Fort Bienvenidos, or, yeah, I think that's the name of Fort Hood now. And you're going to want to be speeding and everything once you're done watching all these motor races come Sunday. And I already know that I've already bored the hell out of everybody because I'm talking about motorsports. But I will tell you that one Sunday, if you're going to make it you're going to watch any day to watch any type of motorsport, make it Sunday of next week because traditionally it is always considered the greatest day in motorsports every year.
I was on mute because I was coughing.
Oh, you're good,
All right,
brother.
hey, coach. No, that was fascinating. You didn't bore me. So we've talked about racing and motorsports before, some of the events that we've gone to. Like I said, I've been to one racing event in Talladega as I'm from Alabama. And
Mm-hmm.
while I didn't give a damn about the racing aspect of it, the people made it so much freaking fun. There was no fighting, there were no arguments. It were people drinking beer, eating food, and dancing and having a good old time. And I've never been to the what is it, the Coca-Cola 600 down there in Charlotte.
Yeah, the Coca-Cola 600. Yep.
I drove past it a couple of months ago. I forgot why I was driving past it. Oh, I was going to go see family and I was going down 95 and I just decided to take a detour and some other stuff. Yo, that whole I don't know if it's called a racing stadium, but it's huge. It looked like its
Yeah,
own city in itself, like off just like right off of that main strip. Like I don't know that main road, but I was going north and it was off to the
Bruton Smith
right.
Highway. Yep.
Yeah, and man, I was like, I looking up. So like, I stopped and I walked and like looking up and seeing just how high like the concrete was. It was kind of daunting a bit. I said, man,
Oh yeah.
this place is huge. So
Oh yeah. And the funny thing is that and NASCAR has dwindled in attendance. Let's not lie about this because NASCAR attendance has gotten low. Formula One racing has been getting more popular, and Indy racing has moved to different venues. But overall, attendance at motorsports has been on a decline for the past several decades. That being said, I was there, and at one point, Charlotte Motor Speedway had close to 140,000 people that they were able to sit all in the grandstands as well as in the infield. Where they bring their trailers in and they bring all of their RVs and everything like that and watch the game from in there. But I could tell you that when there was that many people there, that place was loud. You still heard the cars and everything while you were you were able to hear all that. But the sea of humanity that was there was one that I would never forget. Of how many people. Now I want to say you got about 70 to 80,000 people that are able to watch it over there at Charlotte Motor Speedway, close to that number, and they still don't sell it out now. That's how ridiculous things have kind of come as far as NASCAR and going there in person. But if you do go to a NASCAR race, I will tell you that you will be going to a place that looks a hell of a lot bigger than how many people are there. But it is a huge thing to take a look at those tracks because you're looking at a track that track at Charlotte Motor Speedway is 1.5 miles long. Okay, Talladega is 2.66 miles long. Indianapolis at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is 2.5 miles long, and that actually fits about 250,000 people.
phew.
That is bigger than the town of Fayetteville and Winston-Salem combined. Okay, for those of you in North Carolina, you know exactly what I'm talking about right there. But I mean, for crying out loud, that you've got a lot of people. There's there's small cities in your state that don't have as many people as some of these tracks have out there, and they can fit a whole sea of humanity going over there just to attend one race. It is phenomenal seeing some of these places that are out there.
Hey, shout out to Fayetteville. My dad was in the army, and some of my fondest memories of a kid was actually from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I drove through there. The same actually trip that I stopped through Charlotte, I drove through Fayetteville as well to find somebody who could cut my hair. Phenomenal barber, but man, that it looks so much different as an adult going back through and driving through Fayetteville than it was as a kid. But I stopped at Fort
Oh yeah.
Bragg and it just I was amazed at how different it was. And I was like, I don't know if I want to live here as an adult. But as a kid, man, I had some of the fondest memories of Fayetteville.
Oh God. Let's just say that all my memories are an adult. I'm still continuing those memories, and I really want to get the hell out of this town. That's all I gotta say.
So, oh, and I forget the name of the place, but I had some bomb ass chicken wings too. There at Fayetteville, North Carolina.
It
So
better not have been. It better not have been 301 Wings, because if it was, I will never go to that establishment ever again.
nope,
I will tell you
it
that right now.
it was not 301 wings, but the next time
I
I
know.
drive through, I'll make
I know.
sure.
I know. Ice. I know. Ice used to like the Buffalo Wild Wings over there in Fayetteville.
Must have had a reason. Must have had a
Oh,
reason.
he had plenty of reasons why he liked it over there.
So Quaylen asked some questions earlier and I started
Yeah,
them, and they're trivia type questions. I would know them because I don't follow motorsports like that, but I'm curious if you do, coach. One
yeah.
of the questions that
Oh, I
Quaylen
do.
asked were who's the all-time racer in NASCAR? Have you
Okay, so I saw his questions about how many people have like the total number of wins, and then who's got the most
the most
trophies.
trophies? Yeah.
So I'll say this: the most number of wins all across in NASCAR in its actual in its cups in the cup, which is the highest the Cup Series, which is the highest level that NASCAR regulates. That is the King, Richard Petty. He's got 200 wins in the Cup Series. He has won everything, and his last win, I believe, was the 1986 Daytona 500. I can't remember what year, maybe 84. In fact, the funny thing was is that you know who actually called him after winning the Daytona 500? President Ronald Reagan.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. So I mean, the King Richard Petty has the most wins at the Cup Series. Now, the most trophies and the most wins over the three series that NASCAR runs, which is the Truck Series. It was the Xfinity Series. It started off as the Grand National Series and then became the Busch Series. That and then also the Cup Series, which that was the Winston Cup, then the Nextel Cup, then the Sprint Cup, and then the Monster Energy Cup, and then blah 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 blah. The Cup Series. That is actually a current driver right now, and his name is Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has, I believe, 212, 215 victories, something around that number across all three of those series because he's competed in all the races and has done that for multiple of years. He's got the most trophies out of everybody that was there. Now, out of all the trophies, you also got to think that some people have trophies, but there's also other trophies where I'm not kidding you, like the ones in Nashville. They used to give away the trophy was a guitar. The ones in New Hampshire, you used to get a freaking 40-pound lobster. I'm not kidding you.
Interesting trophy.
Yeah. And one of the oldest races that they have, and one of the best tracks that's out there is Martinsville. They don't give you a trophy; they actually give you a grandfather clock. So, I mean, the trophy thing is kind of, you don't have trophies per se in a lot of these areas. And my God, that was a freaking another great alley oop by the Heat. Um, but that being said, the most wins out of all three of the series were all done by Kyle Busch, and he's definitely collected the most hardware and trophies and everything like that out of all three of the series.
All right. Okay. Good answer, my man. That is good to know. I'm telling you, if I come across these on trivia and people ask me, hey, man, how do you know all these sports stuff? I'm going to be like, hey, tune into the sports bar Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Come and find out. We will hit you with the information. And we appreciate the question. So, Quaylen, if you're still out there watching, I appreciate you asking those questions. Thank you very much. Another question. Hey, coach, we done made it. I don't even know how to answer this one. Do we accept gifts from listeners? If so, where can we send them? Hey, look, I'm going to look. My all of my social media is open. It's not private. I'm going to post my personal Facebook page into the chat. All right. You can send me a friend request or a messenger, right? I have a PO box. I don't know what it is, so I have to I have to look up what my actual PO box address is because I've had it for like several years, but I think I've used it literally like twice in the last since my divorce, like 2019. So yes, I don't think there's anything against accepting uh gifts from the listeners. Hey, station manager, if you're watching or listening, answer that question for me. Let me know. But no, man. Hey, first of all, I'm humbled. Like for real, thank you. I'd never thought
Yeah.
I would have anybody ask me that kind of question before, but I don't think there's anything against except listening except I don't think there's anything against accepting gifts from listeners here at WTF Nation Radio, and I will absolutely take whatever you have to send with a great appreciation. So send me a message to my Facebook page, and I will give you my PO box address, man. Thank you.
A- and send whatever you're sending to me to King as well, because yeah, I'm not a great gift person.
Yeah,
I've already got enough shit in my house, so please, I don't want any more stuff in my house. I'd rather y'all give it to King.
yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, no, Charles. Hey, dude, that's dope. Thank you. I will figure out what my PO box address is. And the reason I laugh is because I've never had this question before. I'm speechless actually right now.
That's awesome, man.
That's actually pretty
Awesome.
freaking amazing,
Who'd that
man.
come from? Did that come from Charles?
That Yep, that is from Charles. So
Charles Rosinigli.
hey, he jacked it up. I said it right. Rosignoli. Now I feel like I messed it up. He said I said it right the
Rosignoli.
first time.
Rosignoli. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I screwed up another Paisan's name. My bad, brother.
Hey, yeah, man. That's I don't, dude. I don't know. We can end the show now. Shit. I don't know. I don't even know how we go to the next subject from that. I am speechless for
Hell,
real. Let's
it's not,
see.
we can't really easily transition from, hey, you're giving us free shit to, oh, by the way, I got another story for you.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's take a look at the comments, and then I've got two quick things to cover. One's quick, the other one's just one's just an acknowledgement, and then the other one I just thought was who in the hell would do something this crazy. So Jose said, who was the driver that raced in the Indy 500 and the NASCAR race? The stamina to do both of those has to be high, and it's a very different skill set too. So
Yeah.
do you happen to know who was the driver that raced in both?
There's been a couple drivers that have done the double dip, and the most popular one that has done that was Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart, before he raced NASCAR full time, also raced in IndyCar. So I believe he got like second in the Indy 500, and then ended up coming fourth in the Coca-Cola 600. And I believe Kurt Busch did that as well. Danica Patrick raced, but I'm not talking about racing in this. I'm talking about racing the same day. Yeah, like I said, I know Tony Stewart did it. I want to say Kurt Busch did it. I don't, give me a moment. I'm gonna look that up real fast, because I know Tony Stewart did that and did pretty well, but I know that there's been others that have done it. Now, nobody's ever done the Grand Prix of Monaco and the Coca-Cola 600 or the Indy 500, because it's almost impossible to get from Monaco to Concord, North Carolina, or Indy with enough time. In order to do that. But let's see. The double duty is what it's called. John Andretti was the first one who tried to do it in 1994. So let's see. Yeah, let's see. The last ones that have done that, John Andretti did that in 1994. Davy Jones did that. 97. Robbie Gordon did it. Tony Stewart did that in 1999. Robbie Gordon did that in 2000. Tony Stewart did that again. That was the one that I was talking about, where he became the first one to complete all 1,100 miles in 2001. And then Robbie Gordon did that again. I guess Robbie Gordon was the last person to have done that. Okay. And then I take that back with what happened with Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch tried to do the double duty in 2013 as well as in 2014. He did not do that in 2014, as he only did his initial rookie test for the Indy 500. Let's see. Now, I mean, this is not something that I would say that it would happen. But Jeff Gordon, during his last Cup season, drove the pace car at the start of the 2015 Indy 500, and then flew to Charlotte to do the Coca-Cola 600. But yeah, those were the ones that. Let's see here. Okay, I take that back. Kurt Busch did do this. So in
Okay.
2014, Busch started 12th at Indy, and then he finished on the lead lap sixth. He tied with Robbie Gordon and Tony Stewart to finish best at sixth. And then Busch did arrive to Charlotte in 2014, and I was at that race. That's right. That's why I remembered that. But his car ended up running out of yeah, during the mid race, and he didn't complete the whole thing out of there. He did win the Rookie of the Year though for that 500, and but yeah, Kurt Busch did do that in 2014.
All right.
So that's the last one who actually did that.
There's been a few.
And like I said, the only person to have actually had done the entire race for both of them on the same day was Tony Stewart in 1999.
Man, hey, great questions from Jose Santiago, man. I appreciate the questions that you sent in. Most definitely. Let's see. Grooming and Review said that I remember when NASCAR was a must watch thing. Like I grew up hearing about NASCAR, being that I'm from Alabama, and I didn't live but maybe 40 minutes from Talladega. I don't even think it was 40 minutes. I think it was more like 30 minutes from Talladega. So a lot of people talked about NASCAR where I was from. We have an update. This was maybe 8 minutes ago. Boston 54, Miami 71 in the third quarter. Charles said
Yeah.
that he's a long time listener of Pop Culture Warrior and he hears us on there all the time as well. And a great game of trivia a couple of weeks ago, King. All right, hey, you know what? Like I said, hit me up on Facebook. If CQ signs off on you, Charles, then you automatically have the stamp of approval from me, and I will
Yeah.
get you my information. And I mean, like,
Yeah.
dude, seriously, like, thank you. That like I am survived. I've had two good things happen to me today. A, uh, I play flag football. I shouldn't be playing. I have heart disease. It's tragic, actually. I don't start and I don't play a lot, but I'm still quick. Like I still, kind of got it. But I announced to the team that because of my heart disease and stuff, I'm stepping away from playing like sports like that. And
Mm-hmm.
while I was waiting on the field, kind of, taking it all in, so to speak, watching the youngsters get out there and play. My lady, after she got done with church, surprised me. Like she called me on the phone, asked me what I was doing, and I just so happened to still be at the field. I didn't leave after the game. And I went to go turn around to say something to the league organizer, and I saw her just standing right there. So that warmed my heart. And then Charles today wanting to send us something is the second thing that warmed my heart. So Charles, hey
Mm-hmm.
brother, thank you. Let's see.
Hey, real fast, I do want to talk about something name that David Cunningham put up on there, and that was Pablo Montoya, Juan Pablo Montoya. He actually has a distinction out of there that Juan Pablo Montoya first started racing in Formula One, then moved to IndyCar, then moved to NASCAR. So he's one of four drivers that has competed in F1, Indy, and in NASCAR. Now he didn't do that all in the same year. He actually did that in other years. The other drivers who did that were Mario Andretti, Jacques Villeneuve, and Mark Donahoe. But he is right as far as them, competing in the Indy 500. Him and Danica Patrick competed in the Indy 500, and then also competed in, NASCAR with the Daytona 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. But they just had not done that. Like I said, except for the ones that I listed were the ones who did that on the same day.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. Appreciate that update, coach, to that. Pete said, Coach, Jeff Gordon is the best driver, and good luck trying to change his mind. Salute,
All right, all right.
salute to you. And David said
Hey,
that
hey, hey! Some people think that LeBron James is the greatest of all time, and they're wrong.
Goat James. Hey man, this camera got me in 4K. I didn't comb my beard before you know what? Yeah, man, this is tragic. My face is glistening. Anyway, uh
See, that's why I don't have a daggone video cam, man. This way my face could be as fugly as it is right there, and I can still talk.
hey, you got a face for radio and a voice for print.
Oh yeah.
David said, King, I can still be a hiker if I can't get away from flag football. So the team has asked me to be the team manager, right? And kind of like the coach, if you will, the guy that wrangles everybody together on Sundays, announce that, game time and put people in position and get them some playing time. I'm considering doing that because I like the sport. I'm the guy, if I see Pee Wee football playing and I don't have nothing else going on for the rest of the day, I'll pull over and watch a Pee Wee game. I like the sport of football. I've been playing it since my freshman year of high school. I wasn't a guy that played before my ninth grade year. And I think I've told the story. The only reason why I even played was because I saw the girls in high school, like in middle school, wearing the jerseys of the players. And I'm
Yep.
like, and like, even like the most unathletic dude would have somebody wearing their jersey. And I'm like, wait, I want somebody wearing my jersey. So I decided to, try out having no experience, but I was a natural. I wasn't the fastest, wasn't the strongest, but I have what I think is vital for an NFL running back or like a person that's carrying the ball in general. It could be like a wide receiver that catches it and makes yards after the catch. I had good vision. I had good vision and was actually fairly quick. And that helped me out throughout high school with
Yep.
even some scholarship opportunities to be able to play post high school. But I joined the Air Force. I think I've shared my story. I had the opportunity to play Division I football at the Air Force Academy and instead got married. I gave up a commission in the military, a free education, and Division I football to get married and divorced 10 years later. If I had 14 years later, if I had a buzzer right now, I would give myself the buzzer for doing that. I literally had my orders and I was 2 weeks away from attending the Air Force Academy. I would have had it done like the first 9 months at the prep school, even though my
Yeah.
even though my ACT score was high coming out of high school. I tell people this and they don't believe me. I had a 34 on the ACT, which I forget exactly what the highest is, but it's not too far from like a high score on the
Yeah.
ACT. And people are like, bro, you actually smart. I'm like, first of all, I am smart. My GPA may not reflect it because I was also the guy that I knew what I needed to do to pass, and I did just that. So
Oof.
yeah, enough
Used
about
to be
me.
on football team. Now you're wearing Air Force green.
Yep, yep, yep. Charles said,
Hey, by the way, what number did Magic Johnson wear? Hold on one second. Let me say this. What number did Larry Bird wear for the Boston Celtics?
was he 32 or 34?
He was 33.
33. I was in between.
Yeah, yeah, and that's how much the Heat are up by on Boston right now.
Yo, what?
Yep.
Man,
89-56 with 4:25 in the fourth quarter.
ridiculous. R-
Okay, now they're up by 31.
ridiculous.
They're up by Reggie Miller.
Charles said, obviously, the greatest racers are Harry Gant and Dale Hart Sr. And Kevin, I'm going to mess this up so bad. Hilbieber. Hilbiber. Oh my goodness. I know I messed that up. Hilberber said Kenny Roberts wasn't bad on the track, but that wasn't NASCAR though.
Okay, who the fuck is Kenny
Who is Kenny
Roberts?
Roberts? What race did he race in?
I
And
got no idea. I gotta Google this fucking guy up.
and
Because I
how do
got
I
no idea.
spell or pronounce your last name? Because I know I messed that up. Again, that Alabama high school education
Oh, he was a
profile.
motorcycle racer.
Motorcycle
Okay.
race. Okay. Ooh, I've always wanted to go to one of those type of races. I mm, Like that to me, the action
Yeah.
and the driving on motorcycles, fantastic. I love it.
Okay. 'Cause I see where he's at. All
All
right.
right, let's see. Oh, we got
Uh,
Mike Larson in the building. Said South Florida sports dominating again. Hey, I mean, I can't argue against that one. He's a homer. All right, he's a homer, so he's definitely going to be repping South Florida. Absolutely. And my guy Mouse, I haven't seen you in a while. What's up, my man? He said, "Sup." I'm gonna just give you the sup, like not the downhead nod, because I'm a man of color. I don't do this. I do this.
hey, let me ask you a question. When's the last time South Florida baseball actually dominated? Oh, that's right. It's been 20 freaking years. Yeah. Yeah.
Mike,
How about that South Florida hockey team, huh? Yeah.
take that, Mike. I have one thing to bring up real quick, and then we're going to get into our final story of the evening. So bear with us for about
Gotcha.
another 10 minutes. All right. I want to acknowledge the 2023 PGA champion, Brooks Kepa, and I think I said his name right.
Kapka.
Kapka. Yes,
Kapka.
that's right. I listened to how to pronounce his name prior to the show, and I still messed it up. Okay, so he won the 2023 PGA championship. I think it is his third PGA championship win,
Yep.
his fifth
Fifth major.
majors victory. The total purse in this year was 17.5 million. Being that he won first place, he's going to take home 3.15 million. There
Yep.
were two people that tied for second that are going to take 1.54 million each, and then third place is the only other uh winner that wins over $1 million, and that person took 1.19, and then it goes down from there, and the lowest winner, who plays 76th and won 25,000, is a person by the name of Kazuki Higa. All right. Phil Mickelson, who's a name in golf, tied at 58 and is taking home 33,000. But man, so here's the difference from 10th to first. 10th place takes home 465,000, and first is a whopping $3.15 million. So congrats to Brooks. How do you say it? Kapka?
Brooks Kapka.
Brooks
And
Kapka.
you know the funny thing is that there's been a massive kind of well, I'm going to say strife, but a division in pro golf, because the PGA Tour has long been the one standard of tours that have been out there for pro golfers, and now there's a Saudi Arabian circuit that's called the Live Golf League, LIV, and Brooks Kapka is on the Live Tour as well. So your defending PGA champion is on another tour. So let's just be honest here. Golf right now is going through a little bit of division, and it's kind of a little messed up. But it's funny that a guy from the Live Golf Tour ended up winning the PGA Championship. That's a boost in their cap, but it doesn't mean anything because I haven't watched golf since Tiger Woods. Yeah, had that little cheating scandal with his Scandinavian wife. Actually, no, I take that back. I take that back. On my birthday in 2018, Tiger did win the Masters, and I remember watching it, and I was crying when Tiger won the Masters in 2018.
All right.
Because it was awesome. Tiger won his first Masters on my 17th birthday, and then he won his last Masters on my 38th birthday. So it was kind of nice.
Nice.
But that's the last time I really gave a shit about golf.
I like how you remember dates. I don't remember what I did for my 30th birthday, but you have great date recalls, man.
Yeah.
I you know what? I I bet that comes in handy with your significant other, because I would forget shit. Hey, don't you recall when we did this on this day? I'd be like, no, I don't. Not at all.
Oh, hey, DJ Khaled's in the house over there in Miami right now.
DJ Khaled. I think I've seen more superstars at the during this Eastern finals than I have in the Western finals.
Oh, they just showed a picture of three great NBA players: Alonzo Mourning, Shaq and Bob McAdoo.
Yeah.
Oh God, if I ever get it, I gotta go. No, I don't want to disrupt it because we've been going on now. We're already at 2 hours and 17 minutes. But I knew Bob McAdoo pretty well. I'm not kidding you.
Charles said, "Let's go Steelers." You know what? I got a custom Ravens jersey, and next Sunday I might wear it just for you, Charles. Just for you, I might wear my customs Ravens jersey. All right. And then David Cunningham, last comment before we get to the final story of the evening, said the PGA will have to sweeten the pot or they will lose players to the live. And
Yeah,
Coach had talked a little bit about that. So it sounds like y'all are in agreement on that.
that's the truth.
All right. Final story. And I thought this, to me, I'm like, what kind of person would choose to cheat on their significant other with a fighter? And I just this story came to light this past Monday, and I thought it was interesting. And I'm going to share my screen here. And let me see if I do this right. All right, I did it right. Look at that. I know technology. UFC fighter Tim Elliott accuses his wife of having an affair with his friend in a tweet. So this guy publicly says, "My wife cheated on me," and the way he did it, I thought was like it made me laugh. All right, and this headline, which is on MSN.com, I think it was through Fox, said UFC fighter Tim Elliott went public with a difficult personal situation on Friday as he was accused of his wife as he was accused his wife of cheating on him with his friends. Elliot, 36 years old, posted a photo of his wife reading her vows to his daughter on their wedding day. And he said the man in the photo holding the microphone was the one that she allegedly had an affair with. And I tried to click this to see if it would take it to the tweet, and it didn't. And on my new computer here, I don't have Twitter signed up, so I can't just bring it up. But he goes on to write, "Do you want to see something gross? This is my wife reading vows to my daughter on our wedding night. The guy holding the microphone was my friend and teammate. My wife has cheated on me with this guy in the same night, and they've had a relationship our entire marriage." I was like, wait, what? That baffled me because I'm like, do you know what this guy does for a living? You knew that before you married him. And people, look, lives have been lost over infidelity news. And there are certain professions of people that I would not cheat on, cops being one of them, and MMA fighters being another one. And I'm like, the balls on this lady to step out. And I'm curious, how did he find out? All right. And what made Tim Elliott decide to go public about it, right? Some of the support that he's gotten on Twitter, one of his UFC colleagues, Charles Johnson, wrote, "Talk about a villain arc, bro. Sorry to hear that, but guarantee for each one there's someone else amazing. Been there. Heads up, bro. It gets better." Hey, if you're a UFC fighter and you're married, you might want to check to see if your significant other is actually down for you, because apparently it's rampant that people aren't necessarily loyal if monogamy is an expectation in your marriage. But coach, I saw this, and there's been other news that have came out about it and stuff as well. But did you see this news at all? And if so, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I did not see this. I did not see it until we were looking up here for the show prep out of that. And, first off, it's kind of like somebody deploying and you're cheating on your husband with the rear D. Okay, they're not cool at all. But I mean, the best way that I can sum it up is by singing.
Uh-oh.
You're doing whole activities with your whole tendencies. Hoes are your friends.
Hoes are your
Hoes are
enemies.
you do what you do.
Blue what
Blue
you
what
blue.
what you screw. You're professional like a DJ Clue pulling on my coattail.
Why you think
Oh,
you take a hoe
not a
to
hoe,
a
no,
hotel?
hotel. Hotel, everybody, even the mayor.
Reach up
Reach
in
up
the
in the
sky for
sky
the
for the
ozone
ozone
layer.
layer.
Hey, and he finished that with "Come on, player, once a hoe, always." And hoes never close; they open like hallways.
Ho,
Use a
use a hoe.
hoe, ho. That is
Use a hoe. I said that
use a
use a
hoe,
hoe.
ho, ho.
Ho! And hey, hey, you guys remember that wrestler Hacksaw Jim Duggan? You remember what he was famous for saying?
Mm-mm.
Ho!
Man, hey, those were the lyrics performed by the famous rapper Ludacris. That is one of my favorite songs, actually, of all times.
Oh yeah. Damn.
Yeah, man.
That's like honestly, that really is like your husband deploying and you're going to the rear D for some strange. Don't do that shit. Come on now, come on. You're cheating with the damn teammate and everything. You know what? I'm gonna keep my mouth shut because if I say something, I'll be saying something derogatory, and I don't want to say anything more derogatory than what I've already said. So I'll keep my mouth paused on this one and bite my tongue.
And hey, look, coach, I want you to take a look at this. So the guy right here that's on the screen now, that's the alleged best friend, of her husband. And when I scroll back up, let me go find the tab. All right, so this is Kevin Kroom, the alleged person that was holding the microphone in Tim Elliott's
Yep.
thing. And if you look at Tim Elliott, I mean, I ain't saying that they look the same, but she has a type.
What are you trying to say? All those white guys look together, look alike? Huh? No,
Hey,
I'm just kidding.
no, hey,
No,
hold on,
no, no, no.
hold,
But I
hold
will
on.
say this. I will say this. UFC needs to book an unsanctioned match with them. All right, a lights out match. Just let them go into the middle of the ring. You're gonna have the
Ooh.
highest damn pay per view numbers on the face of the earth, higher than when Ronda Rousey was in her prime, higher than when Conor McGregor was saying, "Who the fuck is that guy?" You need to book that into the main event over at one of the upcoming UFC things. You know what? Let them go at it. Don't just say no. That needs to be done over at the dojo. No, you need to book that for Vegas over at the MGM Grand, and you are going to sell more pay per views than you ever have before.
Hey,
book it, Dana White.
hey,
Please book it.
I know that Dana White watches our show sometimes. Dana White, we are giving you jewels over here, okay? Make that happen. And you market the hell out of that. That I mean, look, it's already written itself so far. I agree with Coach. I would pay for that. Okay. Absolutely. So
I ain't
Dana
gonna
White,
pay for it. I'll illegally stream it like I do everything else.
I'd pay for it. I would definitely pay for it. So, wink, wink. So, yes, UFC President Dana White. I know you watch the show. Make that happen. Okay. Let's see. Let's check the comments, and then we are going to close this out. I actually had something else for that, but I couldn't find it just before the show. Charles said he's got a terrible towel signed by John Star Wars. Yo, that's dope. I went to a Pittsburgh Steelers
Damn.
game with my homeboy. He's an Air Force veteran. Shout out to I'm gonna name him Chad McHenry. He's a phenomenal guy. I met him when I was in. I consider that guy a brother. We don't talk that often, but when we do, it's us like linking up for sports events. And he's a lifelong Steelers friend. He's from Punxsutawney. Is that where the groundhog comes from?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's where the groundhog's from. Yeah.
Punxsutawney Phil. He's from that area. He grew up a lifelong Steelers fan, and I'll tell you, some of the nicest fans ever. Because I was in there wearing a team's opposing jersey. It was cold as shit that day too. Cold as a polar bear's toenails, and I had so much fun. So shout out to Steelers Nation. I look. I will agree. Pittsburgh was a very warming and welcoming city. Unlike Philadelphia, I went to a Philadelphia Eagles game. Never again. You do not want to, even if you're wearing a Philadelphia Eagles game, it can still, you still feel like you have to keep your head on the swivel. So
Oh yeah.
shout out to Steelers Nation. I will definitely give them props, and I will tell you, avoid Philly at all costs. Let's
Mhm.
see. Mouser said cheating is not a surprise to me. You know what? It's mm, in this day and age, it I'm not one that advocates cheating, yet I can see how easy it can be. It's me. Like, I'm not a criminal, but if I were to be a criminal, I could think of easy ways to get away with shit, or at least I think I would be able to think of easy ways until I get caught. All right. I think
Mhm.
most criminal masterminds think that their plan is foolproof until they actually get caught. Let's see. David Cunningham said Tiger Woods' ex-girlfriend was trying to get $32 million settlement from their breakup. The judge threw it out because of the NDA that she signed. And I was going to talk about that during the last stream that we had. I thought that was baffling. And not just Tiger Woods. There was another MMA fighter or a UFC fighter whose girlfriend is trying to sue him to get wages that she felt as though she earned. Like, this guy's like married now. Like, this is from a previous relationship, and she had enough to actually get to her court. I don't have the update on that, but I thought that was baffling to me. I'm like, man, this person has the audacity to say I'm owed X amount of dollars because I was with this person as his girlfriend while he was, up and coming, and well after their breakup, I should get some money. I thought that was baffling. If I can remember that story, we are going to talk about that next week on the call-in show as well. All right. So let's see. We got
Mm.
one more thing here, and then we're going to close out the show. Mousa, and I hope, I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. My bad. He said there's a Moroccan player who plays for Paris Saint Germain. So his wife is a Spanish actress who cheated on him and demanded half of his fortune in front of a judge. However, he is broke because he signed over all his wealth to his mother. Yes, yes, I think we talked about that one a little bit. I can't think of his name right now, but he put his stuff in his mama name. And and so when she tried to claim stuff from the divorce, he's like, I don't know nothing. My mama does. And I'm like, yo, that is a win in my book. I forget his name, but I do remember that story. Let me see if I could bring it up real quick.
Israel Adesanya, Jose just
Yeah,
identified it.
that's the story. I thought that was fascinating. Shout out to Jose for putting that one up there. Yeah, man. Hey, I heard that and I cracked up laughing. I said, if that ain't the pettiest thing you can do inside of a marriage, I don't know what's more petty. Okay, he said I could call you Moses. All right, Moses, I can say that one. Moses. All right, salute to you. I think this is the first time I've seen you on the sports bar here on Sundays. So salute to you as well. Yeah, Moses and Jose are two new faces here on the sports bar. I don't know if you watch any of the other shows here, but I'm glad you're here on this Sunday. And I thank you for commenting. You said you met him in Huntsville. Charles said met him in Huntsville. Super cool guy. All right. He said I'm broke. I'm broke. So Moses said he watches Kaz and Ice's show. Hey man, so hey, look, thank you for also tuning in to Coaches in our Sports Bar here on Sundays at WTF Nation Radio.
Hell yeah.
All right, Coach. We are at the end of our show today. I say the show's typically 2 hours, but if we go over, it's likely because we have viewers and people who are engaged and commenting, and we are responding back as well. So I'm here for it. Again, I have a challenge for the month of June. I want the sports bar to be the most watched show with the most engagement and the most likes throughout the month of June on all platforms. Help me make that happen. I don't know what I have to do to convince my family and friends to just get on this. We'll say, hey, look, just open your phone, tune in, hit the like button, just comment the word here so that I can beat Cons, Ice, CQ, who has amazing guests each and every week that he has for his interviews. I still want to be the most watched show here at WTF Nation Radio. Coach, you have the floor to close us out. What do you want to end our show on with today?
You know what, King? We talked about everything that I wanted to talk about and everything you wanted to talk about. So, in honor of this hoe, this MMA hoe, who might I also add is a fighter, I want to sing one last song for her. Actually, I really can't sing the lyrics to this song, so I'll just start it off. She take my money when I'm in need. Yeah, she's a trifling friend indeed. Oh, she's a gold digger way over town that digs on me. She take my money
Do do
when I'm in
boom boom boom
need.
boom.
Yeah, she takes my money when I'm in need. I got a need. Get down, girl. Go ahead. Get down. Get down, girl. Go ahead. Get down. Get down, girl. Go ahead. Get down. Get down, girl. Go ahead. She take my money. Cutie had a bomb made her a beauty salon with a baby Louis Vuitton underneath her underarm. She said, I can tell by your rock. I can tell by your charm. As far as the girls you got the flock, I can tell the charm by your arm. Fuck it. I can't sing it anymore. I can't sing Kanye. I can't sing Kanye because I'd be accused of anti-Semitism, and that's not what we represent here on U.S. Army WTF moments. We do not represent anti-Semitism.
Oh man! All right, hey, Coach. First of all, thank you. You have a lot of clippable things, and if I could get my assistant to clip us and post it on the sports bar, I need to make that happen. Assistant, clip that so we can put it on the sports bar.
Come on, Nemo. I know you're out there.
Let's see.
Let's get Nemo. Let's get Nemo up and working. Come on. It's
David
not like he's got a
Cunningham
real job or anything.
said, "Great coach King, great show, King and Coach. Jamie Foxx is still down and out, and for everybody to pray for him." I saw some updated news that he's doing better. Like there's been speculation because allegedly a friend said that he was in dire straits. His daughter, Kareen, his daughter, one of those
Yeah.
names I just said was the right one, and came out and said, "Look, don't listen to what other people are saying. His camp's been real tight-lipped on his progress, but the latest I saw from his daughter is like everything's all good. Like it's not the best, but I guess not like the worst either. But Jamie Foxx is a legend in acting to me. He's a legend in singing for sure. And he's young, 50 something. I know he's older than me,
Yeah,
but
he's
younger than my
he's in
dad.
his 50s. Yeah. God, I remember when he had his own daggone show, after he was on In Living Color.
Yep. So
Yeah.
I
I will say this, if I do want to close something, Cody Zeller is my daggone spirit animal. Him wearing this face mask and, playing defense and looking like, the guy in the rec league playing basketball. Yeah, he is my spirit animal for right now. But yeah, that's all I got to say about Miami. That's the only positive thing I got to say about him.
All right. Jose said that he was out at a restaurant the other day. Oh, okay. So I missed the news that he's out of the hospital and was spotted in public. Yeah, unless was it really him? Was it a AI generated video to try to keep people out? Let me not go down that rabbit hole. I'm a fan of
Oh, God.
AI. Moses said, "Great talk, great choice of topics today, King." Hey, thank you. Like I said, here at the sports bar, I'm not an analyst. I didn't play professional sports, but if you're gonna have topics of things that you would talk about at an actual sports bar. That's what we're looking to bring here virtually to the people at WTF Nation Radio. So for those of y'all who are going to be doing things for the holiday weekend, Memorial Day is coming up. It is a day to remember those who have given all in service of their nation. uh if you're going to go out and enjoy your time with family and friends, be safe. We are going to be back here live next Sunday at 8 p.m. US Eastern. We're going to have a call-in show. So if you want to come on, talk your ish, represent your team, Steelers Nation. Hey, come on, come and kick it with us. We would love to have you on. We will have the call-in information up live next week when we show up. That is it. That is all. Charles said, first time listening to the sports bar and great show. Thank you very much. Boston is getting their ass handed to them by Miami in the fourth quarter. I'm going to close out this stream and go over there and watch the game. So, to everybody that tuned in, salute. We'll be back next week. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. David, post something up here. I want to acknowledge this and say this because I like interesting news. There could be a double sweep this round in the NBA. I am curious if that has ever happened. All right.
Oh,
So I'm going to
I
look
don't
that up.
remember it ever happening.
All right.
Man.
So to everybody that tuned in, commented, I give you an Air Force salute. And Coach and I are out. Peace.